Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 189 of the Salvaggio and Cratty. Still struggle with saying the title a little shorter. It's Wednesday, April 17th, 7:04 p.m. We got a loaded show for you tonight ahead of another loaded show next week with the mock draft and other stuff ahead of the NFL draft. But we'll start with basketball tonight. Great show ahead. Exciting stuff to talk about, playoff season, and much more. Ryan, how are you?
Doing good. Kind of stinks that our first Celtics playoff game won't come until I believe Sunday. The first three games were dropped either late last night or early today. For the people that missed it, Sunday is the first game. I believe Wednesday is game two, and then I think it's Saturday. It might be game three. So kind of a crappy schedule and how you depending on how you look at it. Obviously good the extra days of rest in case the Celtics will need that. Hopefully there's no rust coming out of that. But for you and I and everybody else who wants to watch these games, having the extended time off in between, not too fun. But hopefully the Bruins will have some games mixed in maybe in between those days. That we can watch as well, because we do know that they are once again playing Toronto in the playoffs, which I don't want to say it's a guaranteed win, but it's as pretty close to a guarantee as you can get when it comes to sports. Unless you're like my grandfather, who thinks every year it's going to be Toronto's year and they're going to finally break through. I hate to break it to you, until they get some goaltending and some defense. It's probably not going to happen. But yeah, doing pretty good
Yeah.
tonight. Also, some Patriot stuff that kind of broke throughout the day that you alerted me to rather. So we'll touch on that as well.
Yeah, and the Bruins and Leafs real quick. 4-0 in the season series for the Bruins, doubled their goal total, 14-7, and the Bruins were 30% on the power play against the Leafs this year. The Leafs were just 9%. So we'll get into that later, but I am feeling good about that matchup. And last night helps determine or change the most likely matchup. So we'll get into that a little later. NBA playoffs. We have some more play-ins coming up tonight. But the Lakers edge the Pelicans last night by 4. And the Kings blow out the Warriors by 24.
Mhm.
Um, it is a little weird to see the Warriors lose a game like this the way they did. I do like the group the Kings have, though.
Yep.
I honestly thought the Pelicans were going to win. It is LeBron, but I thought the Pelicans were going to pull it off. Heard they'd been playing good lately as well, but LeBron and crew prevail. So,
Mhm.
Ryan, any thoughts from you on last night's play-in results?
Yeah, I was a little surprised too. Maybe it's just because I just maybe didn't follow the Pelicans all that closely. Maybe didn't give them enough credit where credit's due. Until he got hurt, I think the big storyline in that game was how good Zion looked. And I think somebody said, or they showed it on Twitter, his first ever playoff game. Can't remember if he was hurt when the Pelicans made the playoffs a couple years ago, or if they even did again. Not a Pelicans fan, so I can't tell you otherwise. But he looked great in that game. I think that's one of the main reasons why they were close. And then obviously when he got hurt, tough to see him, because obviously you knew something was wrong when he walked off the court, as upset as he was. That's when the Lakers we were able to figure some things out. Of course, the Pelicans kept it close, but in the end, like you said, it is tough this time of year. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Maybe to a lesser degree nowadays, obviously with age and everything. But you can never count out LeBron in these type of performances in these type of games. Didn't have a pretty fourth quarter by any means. I mean, I was kind of loosely following the game, but I saw on Twitter, he had a horrific fourth quarter, but got some help from other guys. Reeves was good once again. D'Angelo Russell was a big storyline in this game, was maybe the Lakers' best player for the first three, maybe, 3.5 quarters. He was excellent in this game, especially when Anthony Davis struggled early. 20 points for AD, but not a dominant game like we've seen from him time and time again. Lakers this time of year, they always find a way to squeak things out. And I think now are what, 3-0 or 4-0 in the playing games. I think I saw a stat come out yesterday about that. So they know how to win in these games. It stinks if you're a Lakers fan that you always kind of have to be in this position of, a do or die game here or there. But they end up taking it, and now they have the pleasure of going into Denver and trying to knock off the defending champions. So I saw Mike Greenberg was one of the people that was like, you should lose this game on purpose and try to get the 8th seed and play the OKC Thunder, who a lot of people seem to think are going to be a one and done. And maybe you and I will when we get into their series in a little bit. It is kind of tough to make playoff predictions with of course the Eastern Conference. They're playing games start tonight with the Heat and 76ers and the Bulls and the Hawks. But we will obviously try our best. I didn't really watch. It was a little too late. Didn't really watch a whole lot of the Kings and Warriors game. Obviously, the big storyline coming from that one was just how bad Klay Thompson looked, and not the best time to look bad, because he is a free agent coming up at the end of the year. So I wonder, how much that will kind of sway maybe some contract decisions, or if the Warriors want to bring him back or not. I personally think the Warriors should maybe look to blow this thing up. I think their dynasty might be not as good as dead, but it has faded quite a bit. Obviously, we know what Draymond is at this point in his career. I think if the Warriors have a chance to get out from under him, absolutely do it. I don't care, how many people, say they support him in the building, or how much Steve Kerr, will say they support him. I just can't imagine how you can keep going on like that. And if you want to, continue to prolong Steph Curry's career and maybe try to get him back into the finals one more time, or, make another deep playoff run, you got to shake something up with that roster, because I think it's just time to get younger. But like you said, I like that Kings roster. I think they'll have a pretty good shot of knocking off New Orleans as well in their, second playing game coming up. But again, late game, didn't have a whole lot to take away from that, other than just like you said, how dominant the Kings were, especially in that second half, because things got dicey at the end of the first half. But the Kings just ran away with it in the end.
Yeah. The funny thing to come out of the Warriors game was the AI powered trending tab on Twitter.
Absolutely. Yep.
Piecing together that because people were talking about him throwing bricks being
yeah.
Klay Thompson.
Yep.
He went on a vandalism spree with bricks. That was not the case. It was the basketball turned bricks, not the actual bricks. But that
it was a
pretty
duck
funny.
and cover situation, though.
Yeah.
Pretty,
yeah. It's very weird to see, like, maybe not weird, I guess, like it's gonna happen eventually, but like the Lakers are always in this type of situation now, and or they could miss, at certain stretches of the year. They're not like once, the dominant Lakers we could see it like LeBron and even closer to his prime. Than he is, he's farther away from it now. If not in his prime in general, but that was without the Lakers. So I kind of wonder in a similar vein if like this is just the start of the Warriors going down like a similar trend. Like, are they going to be in playing games now, or are they going to suck and miss the playoffs for a while? You have to. I think you have to let Klay Thompson go. You need some sort of change, because
you need more youth.
If you run this back and it doesn't work again, or God forbid you just don't make the playoffs and Klay Thompson kind of. I've heard some people say he's washed. I don't know enough. If his decline really like holds you back, like you gotta, like you said, you gotta try and stay competitive for Steph as long as he's here, but kind of go like a hybrid approach and see how you can do it, because you just run back the same old group we saw this year. You might get pretty similar, underwhelming, unexciting results. So that'll be something interesting to monitor. But it would appear that the dynasty is over.
Yeah, I mean, they gotta try to. I mean, they have some decent young players in that team. Mooney, excuse me, is obviously one of them. But they gotta try to, like I said, infuse some more youth. Like I at times 100% would agree with you, and a lot of people, like you said the same thing. That Klay Thompson looked like he is just so far over the hill. The Chris Paul thing, I don't know. I said at the time, if I remember correctly, I don't know what the Warriors were thinking bringing him in to begin with, just because of where Chris Paul is at his point in his career. And as you and I have talked about before, the level of not competitor, but what Chris Paul is in the playoffs. He is a like natural loser at that point. So that I didn't think was going to be a good fit to begin with. He really didn't do a whole lot to most of the season, and definitely in this playoff game. So I think that's a guy you could probably move on from, or I don't know what his contract situation is, but just another one. Like just try to infuse some youth, try to get a little bit more, competitive years, just for Steph's sake. Obviously, great player as he is, we know that. To go down as one of the NBA greats, of course. But just to keep that going, try to, again, get him another playoff run and maybe a deep run with a finals appearance. Celtics fans, hopefully, hoping not, you and I. But just if you're a Warriors fan listening, I gotta feel like you probably feel the same way, because like that was quite a whimper of a way to go out, and not in really any, like you said, any fashion that the Warriors we have come to know. Not that the Kings are a bad team or anything. Obviously, we knew what the Kings were. They were up and coming last year, but to see them dominate, like I said, that second half as pretty easily as they did, was very surprising, like you said, from what we know from this Warriors team in past years.
Yeah, you just got to try and readjust here, because all good things come to an end, and that seems to be where we're at now. Yep. Tonight, Heat, Sixers, and Bulls and Hawks.
One of these games should be more of a dogfight than the other one, I think. But obviously the 76ers. I did just look it up because I was curious. I did not know if Joel Embiid was going to play tonight. There were some questions of his availability. He is apparently in tonight. The lineup, the lineup for the 76ers just dropped about like a half hour ago. He's in, so that obviously helps their chances a little bit. But I'm kind of in the same boat. I'll just jump into predictions now because I don't really have a whole lot on this game unless you want to, do a deep dive into Heat and 76ers here. Can say season series tied 2-2. Miami won the first 2 games. Philly won the last 2. So again, it's a dead stop either way. But I was going to say that for me, that the Heat are kind of in the same boat that the Lakers are in. They always seem to find themselves in this position, and they always seem to find a way to win. Of course, the Heat, I think, made it to the the Eastern Conference Finals last year as a 7 seed, I believe it was, trying to do that again for a second straight year. It's all Miami for me. I don't care if Embiid's playing or not. He's looked great at times. He's looked a little iffy coming back from that injury. They're the tougher team, in my opinion. Like I said, I don't really know what to expect from Joel Embiid because, Miami, I feel like can not dominate, but lock him up. I feel like the best that they can because we know what the Heat do at this time of year. It's Miami for me, and they're going to end up, taking home what would be the 7th seed and getting a date with the New York Knicks, I believe, in the first round, if I got my math correct.
I believe you are correct. I'm just sharing this real quick. Facebook. I like the Heat too. If you know anything about what I've been saying all year, I'm not sold on this Sixers team, and the Heat, no matter what their group looks like, they're always tough. So that just goes right against what Philly is, and I think that's just going to be an advantage. They're going to find a way to do it. It might not be pretty, but it's that simple for the Heat in this matchup for me. And yeah, I don't know. I could see Philly winning, but I just I can't get close enough to even consider them as my actual pick.
No. And it's true. There's the revenge factor, of course. Jimmy Butler, who always plays with a chip on his shoulder to begin with. That obviously people have kind of coined this the Heat show. Or I saw, I think DraftKings had a promotional bet, referencing you chose him over me or him over me thing. With the whole Tobias Harris situation, if you remember correctly. Obviously the 76ers choosing to go with and give Harris the big contract over Jimmy Butler. So you got to think that's going to be in the back of Butler's mind as well. Wouldn't surprise me if he comes out and drops like 40, 45 in this game. Because again, it's just what Jimmy Butler does this time of year. There's a reason why he has been coined playoff Jimmy. And again, this is what the Heat do. They get into these situations. They always find a way to win. And I'm with you. They are the tougher team. I think they'll not win this game pretty easily, but in the end, it's going to be Miami, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless you're a Philly guy, I don't know. I feel like a lot of fan bases probably are leaning towards the Heat here. Hawks and Bulls. We know the Hawks in recent memory have given the Celtics some trouble. I don't think the Bulls are very good, but as you've noted in the outline here, the Hawks are only 15-26 at home.
On the road.
On the road, rather. Sorry.
It's okay.
That's pretty nuts. For a team that's fighting for a playoff spot, but it is what it is. I gotta be honest, really a lot of my comfortability here is because of what the Hawks have done against the Celtics lately, despite, the fact that I don't think the Bulls are very good. It's all Hawks, I think, in this game. It's another one in a different avenue. I can't reasonably tell myself that the Bulls are gonna win. I think the Hawks find a way here.
I'm right there with you. You look at the Hawks and you're like, okay, they have a top 5 offense in the NBA, but they also had a bottom 3 defense, 5th in the NBA in points per game and 28th in opponents' points per game. So it's quite a night and day difference there. Hawks have looked really good at times this year. As we've seen against the Celtics, of course, they've looked really bad in other games, but I'm with you. I can't in my right mind ever pick the Bulls. They're just I don't want to say the definition of mid, but again, you look at their stats, they're middle of the pack in pretty much everything. And this is their time of year where it's you squeak into the playoffs, maybe give some Bulls fans a little bit of hope as, being one of these play-in teams and then come out and get absolutely pantsed in one of these matchups. So I'm going with the Hawks as well. Because again, they're a team that we've seen in the past that can step up in these moments. I don't know what Trae Young's situation is, if he's been back and playing. But DeJounte Murray is a high profile player in these type of games. So it wouldn't surprise me if he comes out, has a good night. I think the Hawks are just all around better. And then of course the Bulls too, without Levine. So that'll be, they obviously haven't had him for a while, but still, it'll, be tough for them to overcome. So I'm sticking with the Hawks as well.
Right. I don't know how, you really couldn't, unless you just have this deep sense of passion that, the Bulls are going to win. I don't know how you could.
No.
But let's get into the rest of it. Eastern Conference round one, we got the 8 seed, whoever it will be against the Celtics. I think anyone who's listened to the show knows how we feel about the result here, but the Celtics did avoid the Pacers. The Pacers moved up, and they will play the Bucks. Right? They're playing the Bucks.
Yes.
So potential crisis averted, at least like annoyance averted. So it's Philly, Miami, Atlanta, or Chicago. And the Celtics have beaten any of them.
And you are fine with any of them?
Yes, quite.
Any particular reason why, or just that the Celtics have been the best team overall?
The Celtics are just like, I think people are weirdly, some people are weirdly not as high on the Celtics right now as it should be. I feel like the majority of fans should be like, they're going to beat the shit out of any team in the first round. That's where I'm at. It's that simple. I had the Celtics sweeping the Bulls if it's them and beating Atlanta, Philly, or Miami in 5. I think Philly could be a sweep as well. But I just, with a team with Joel Embiid, you never know about Joel Embiid, you know, who he's going to be and when he's going to be in another lineup. But yeah, that's it. I don't see any series getting over 5. I think the Celtics put a statement out there. Load management throughout the year for certain players. We talked for so long about a lot of the games late in the season, like, okay, like we're gonna try and win, but we're also trying to be like, you got this kind of vibe, like, all right, we're ready for playoffs, which, you know, could lead to complacency, but I just don't see it in this group. And I think they wall up any team in the first round.
I hope you're right. I really do, but there is just a part, and again, I don't doubt the Celtics, you know, is a team that should roll through everybody, but there is just a part of me in the back of my mind that, you know, if you fall into bad habits, I just don't want to see bad things happen. I don't think they will. You know, they had, I don't know if you saw, they had that, their practice either today or yesterday was almost 3 hours long, super, you know, high energy, according to everyone. Al Horford said it was one of the hardest practices they've had pretty much all season or since like the beginning of training camp, which is good to hear. Obviously, they're not taking anything lightly. Obviously, we know now for the people that listened, they will have quite an extensive time off until their first game again. Sunday is game 1 of whoever they play. So you hope they can, you know, that's the one thing I'm a little worried about is they come out and maybe start out of the gate a little sluggish, you know, maybe struggle to find their footing. We all know what the Sunday afternoon games, you know, the 1 o'clock starts, everyone kind of talks about in the NBA, might be a little bit of a problem to start games off. You know, guys tend to come out sluggish for those type of games. But you hope the Celtics are able to put all that behind them. And, you know, like you said, just kind of run through for the people that, you know, may be curious. Against Philadelphia, 3-1 this year. Against Miami, they swept them 3-0. Atlanta gave them the most trouble, at 2-2. And they swept the Bulls as well, 3-0 in that season series. I'm with you if it's Chicago. Like, that should just be a doormat for the Celtics. You should be able to take them out in 4 very easily.
I like that term.
Thank you. And none of those games should be close. You should be able to thump Chicago by at least 15 points every game. Like, maybe you get a little bit of a spark from them game 3 in their first, you know, home game, but the Celtics should be able to beat them pretty easily. I'm with you to some degree. Atlanta and Philly, I think, is a gentleman's sweep. Again, game 3, Philadelphia will probably come out, steal 1 at home. Same thing with Atlanta. And the Celtics will just, you know, go on to win things pretty easily after that. I can't shake Miami. I hate it. I want the Celtics, if they get Miami in the first round, I want them to just stomp them in 4 games because, again, the talent level is so different. And the Celtics, of course, again, swept them in the season series. But again, in the back of my mind, it's the Heat. They know how to play the Celtics. They know how to piss the Celtics off and play them tough, and make the series go longer than it absolutely should. So I'm going to say Celtics in 6 in that one, just because I think Miami will give them a couple of tough games. But again, I'd like them to come out and just kind of, you know, finally put the business to Miami, say, you know, we're done with this playing around crap, and just completely knock them out in 4 games. But until I see it happen, I'm going to kind of stick with, you know, revisionist history or stick with history here. You know, the Heat, again, always put the Celtics tough, so they might be able to get a couple games here and there. You know, and the Celtics will hopefully prevail in the end. I'm just praying, man, if they get the Heat and if they lose the Heat in the first round, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. It's going to be so bad. But again,
just gotta hope there's no Caleb Martins or Gabe Vincents that arise.
But that's the thing. It's like they always seem to, and that's why, like, I picked them tonight too. Like, those stiffs are gone. But as we've talked about with the Heat before, they find stiffs like, you know, nobody else in the NBA. So hopefully the 76ers do us a favor, maybe to some degree, because obviously if the Sixers win, that, you know, maybe is a little bit of an upgrade for the Heat and play in the Celtics. Obviously, having to fight for the 8th seed now, but I still think the Celtics should be able to beat any team out there. The Western Conference is what should the NBA Finals is what should give the Celtics the most trouble. Again, I don't want to get too far ahead, but we've seen what the East is this year. Like, there's a couple of scrappy teams here and there, but I mean, it's not the Eastern Conference playoffs are not going to be the dogfight that the Western Conference should be this year.
Yeah, and he's not a scrub like they were at the time before they came up, but I kind of think if there's a guy that really steps up, like maybe you don't expect, like he's a good player, but I think it's Jaime Hawkins this year.
Yeah.
Just vibes feel right around him, younger player steps up here. But the Celtics too, we had the announcement this past weekend that the 14th of April is Mike Gorman Day.
Yep.
And now with Jack Edwards announcing his retirement and Mike Gorman hanging him up as well, a little extra motivation for each team to play for to win win one in their last year, especially the Celtics. Like,
thank you for bringing that up, because
this is nothing against like Jack Edwards, but because it's just because it was more recent than Gorman's news, but like once they heard the Gorman news, they should have been like, hell yeah, like this is just, if we need an extra bump, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like, of course, the Bruins are in a different, stratosphere in terms of the hierarchy of the league than the Celtics are. So, one might think would be reasonable to think the Celtics have a better shot of doing that than the Bruins. But
yeah, absolutely. And thank you for bringing that up,
because to play for, which is nice. So,
I mean, he even I texted
it
to you. He absolutely is. I mean, I can't remember. You said you missed or forgot that was going on that game when we were texting each other Sunday afternoon. You forgot that he was honoring him, but I mean, I don't know if you saw it. I'm sure you saw the ceremony or some of it on Twitter. Or just kind of saw some clips. Like, great ceremony for him. Naming the broadcast table after him was kind of a cool touch.
That was great, yeah.
But on your point of, for playing for something extra here, like he flat out told them, like when they asked him at the end, do you want to say anything else to the fans or the team? And he obviously thanked the fans, rightfully so. And then, like I told or texted you, looked over at the bench at the team when it was coming back out onto the floor and basically said, like, could you guys go win this damn thing? Like, if that doesn't fire you up, if you're a Celtics player, like, I don't know how it can't. I said it to you. Like,
I want to see him in the locker room if they win. I want to see him on the court.
That's what I said to him. Like, one of these broadcast stations has to find a way to get some rights or figure something out where he is a part of the broadcast in some way for the Celtics playoff run. Like, the Bruins should be doing the same thing with Jack Edwards, get him involved in some way, shape, or form, for their playoff games as well. Because,
I saw someone suggest for maybe this could be the same type of thing for Gorman, like making Edwards like a studio analyst.
Yeah, yep, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I could very easily do that.
Whereas we're talking about like TV stuff, like maybe outside what they typically do. Looks like Belichick, we'll talk about later, will be involved in the media side. But more to play for Celtics. Just think about it.
Absolutely.
He said it right to you. So if the 7th seed gets the Knicks, it'll be the Heat or the Sixers. And I want to say I'm super comfortable with the Knicks beating either team, but I don't know. Like, they're still in this kind of tweener zone where, like, I need to see it to believe it still, get some consistent runs going, start a series hot, and then, they win the first 2 games. You're like, okay, this is what we needed to see to, get to a point with the Knicks where you're super comfortable with them, because this is a team trying to enter that next level of like the competitor hierarchy each and every year. They're a great team. They've become their brand of basketball has become progressively better over the last couple of years, which is huge for such a big market. And I like them to beat the Sixers or the Heat. I have weird suspicion that the Sixers might play them better. I don't know why. I really don't have a great reason, but Knicks in 6 over Philly felt right, and 5 over Miami felt right.
Okay.
I'm not as high on Miami as some, and it's probably gonna come back to bite me.
Yeah, that's how it usually works. Like,
I don't know, man. It is what it is. I say this a lot when I make predictions. Like, it'd just be inauthentic for me to just make something else up because I'm worried about it being wrong. Like, I just shoot from the hip. Other sports, maybe I'll have more analysis than I would on basketball, but it just is what it is. It
Watch, because I have the
is what it
game on in the
is.
background too. One kind of conspiracy theory thing I didn't say, but wanted to touch on and maybe get your thoughts on as well. And it's still early, but the Heat are down right now, 8-2. They have not looked great against the 76ers. They're the level of scumbag that I could just kind of see like in the back of their minds going, if we lose this game and have a chance to go play as the 8 seed and go play the Celtics in the first round, let's do that. Like that is what worries me about Miami too, that they are that level of scummy. I feel like in the back of their minds that they could just kind of be like, yeah, we'll take tonight off, and go for a matchup that we know it has been in our favor more so than not. Like, I don't know if they think they don't match up well against the Knicks or whatnot. But I don't know, something just to keep in mind that, again, I think that they are that level of kind of, shittiness to just keep throwing adjectives out there for you.
Yeah, you're not on the wrong track. I
Yeah,
could see
and
it too.
I hate that I even think about it because like it just aggravates me again. I'm so tired of seeing this freaking team and just their fans, their players, like they aggravate the crap out of me, as we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Nick back to the Knicks because that's what we were supposed to be talking about. Against Miami this year, 2-1 against the 76ers, 3-1. So you would think that the Knicks have a chance in this series. You think they or either one of these series, you think they do, I think they don't. In the playoffs, as we know, I'm not going to take anything away from Jalen Brunson. He's been a great player this year. Has had arguably a career year in pretty much everything he's done. He's been the reason why the Knicks are here. But we've seen in the playoffs, defenses clamp up or clamp down on superstars. You kind of need that second guy to help out at times or carry on certain nights. And the Knicks obviously don't have that anymore without Julius Randle, who's done for the year with, I believe it was a shoulder injury he suffered. So I think they're DiVincenzo's been good for them. There's been a couple other guys here and there, but I just don't know if they have enough outside of Brunson to beat either one of these two teams. So that is why I'm going with the same amount of games as you are in these series. But I think the 76ers, especially if they can stay healthy, Embiid's looked okay tonight. I think Maxey took a shot earlier in this game. I don't know if he's come back yet or not, but we know the player he's turned into this year. I think the 76ers can beat the Knicks in 6. And if it's the Heat, I'm going with Miami in 5 because, again, I just in the back of my mind, terrified of Miami in these situations because we know what they can do and what they're capable of.
Yep. We'll see who's right because we're on opposite sides here.
Yep. I'm surprised for this
I'm
one
leaning
we're not
towards
on
you
opposite
being right.
sides coming up this game. I thought for sure you were going to pick a certain team in this matchup. I'm a little surprised you went the opposite direction.
No. Pacers and Bucks. I don't like the fact that Giannis' health is uncertain right now.
Right there with you. Not going to
For
be
a
ready to
team that
start.
has kind of been chaotic, is that a good word to
I think so.
describe the
Underwhelming.
Bucks this
Chaotic's a
year?
good one. Yeah.
Like you don't entirely know what to expect, and for a motivated team like the Pacers, with a star player at the helm that can really take over games, I hate it for the Bucks. I do.
It's a
And
bad
even
first round matchup for them.
if Giannis comes back, like who knows if he's gonna stick around, be healthy all the time. He's gonna be a little slower. This is just a recipe for disaster, but I have to give them respect here at the very least because I think they're gonna battle. And the Pacers aren't gonna like wallop them. I think the Bucks will battle no matter what their roster looks like with or without Giannis. And the Pacers still do have some learning to do. They'll make some mistakes probably, maybe costly ones. You never know, but I have to still give the Bucks some respect. So I'm going Pacers in 7. I think this one goes the distance. I think this one could be ugly at times.
Yep.
Not always like high flying, and it could be a nice gritty series that gets to 7. I also think it could easily end in 6, but I think this one goes at least 6, no matter who wins. And I'm going with the Pacers in 7.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this one out of all these series could be the scrappiest, the most, like you said, dirty dogfight out of all the Eastern Conference. Again, I think the Western Conference is going to have the better of the matchups. They're going to have the better of the games. But this one, just because of that uncertainty, like the Pacers, you got to think Indiana, obviously a team that has looked like at times they are playing with a chip on their shoulder. We've seen that against the Celtics this season, especially in the in-season tournament. And that's obviously not something to go off of for the actual thing. But the Pacers, have had these type of games and these type of performances before in big moments. You mentioned it, Halliburton has blossomed into one of the biggest, show up performers in the league this year. And the Pacers have a good all around roster. But again, there is an inexperience factor to some degree. The Bucks obviously have plenty of guys that have been there before, have won championships before. Damian Lillard, obviously a guy that hasn't done that, but has had his big moments in the playoffs himself. The surprise thing that I was again surprised by: Pacers 4-1 in the season series against the Bucks. That was kind of jarring to see. I don't know how many injuries maybe factored into that for Milwaukee. How many of those games Giannis might have played in. But I'm with you. I don't like that Giannis is going to be out to start this series. I had a buddy of mine that I was talking to the other day that kind of brought up a good maybe prediction. So if Mike is listening, to shout him out as well. He told me he could see the series going the exact same way. When KD got hurt against the Raptors, if people remember that, the Bucks go down 3-1 early in the series, rush Giannis back a little too soon, and he ends up getting hurt, maybe worse than originally he was. Again, like the Kevin Durant situation against Toronto all those years ago. So kind of an interesting prediction there. But I'm with you. I'm going with the Pacers. I don't like that Giannis is out to start this series. I kind of feel the same way that my buddy does. That if the Bucks maybe try to rush him back a little bit here, maybe things go south early, they could maybe prolong Giannis's injury. It wouldn't be good, and that would obviously hurt them in the long run as well. So I'm going to stick with Indiana, scrappier team. I'm with you. Bucks have been kind of an enigma this season. They've had really difficult times closing games out, especially late in the season. And let's be honest, it's Doc Rivers in the playoffs. We like Doc for obviously what he did here for the Celtics in 2008. Outside of that, we know what Doc Rivers is in the playoffs. He is a choke artist. It stinks to say that because I like Doc Rivers. But it is what it is. The track record is there. The history is there. He has all these talented teams and can never figure it out outside of the one time with the Celtics. So I'm going to stick with history on this one as well and stick with you, Pacers in 7.
Pacers in 7. And this next one is interesting because I don't know if a lot of people had the Orlando Magic in the playoffs this year. This just screams like Magic first time in. They don't get humbled, but they don't win the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Can they beat the Cavs? Absolutely, I think. Will they? No. I've liked this Cavs group for the past couple of years a lot. They have the best player in the series in Spider Mitchell. So it's the Cavs in 6 for me. I think this is just a classic spot where you battle. If you're the Magic, maybe win, but probably lose, and you learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a good experience, especially for Boncaro, the future of that team. So
Yep.
Maybe he shows up and proves me wrong, but I don't know. It feels like the Cavs in 6. That feels just about right to me.
I'm right there with you. I'm just going to go one last game. I think it's Cavs in 5. So I could very well, if Cavs in 5, I could very easily see the Magic maybe stealing game 1. Got to maybe putting the pressure on the Cavs a little bit and then them kind of come out in the next 4 games. Go, all right, what are we doing here? Like, we're better than this team. Like you said, we have the best player in the series in Donovan Mitchell. And that in the NBA obviously tends to, especially in the playoffs, that tends to be enough. Like I know I just said you have to have, guys around your best player to get you through. But more so than not, we've seen, the best player take over series and almost single-handedly win them from time to time. Season series between these two teams, 2-2. Cleveland won the first and third matchups, and Orlando split the difference. They won the second and fourth. But I'm with you. Orlando, good young up-and-coming team, a surprise to a lot of people. But they're a year or two away from being, a real definite contending threat. You're going to get some of those young guys some more experience. I think this will be a good test for them. Plus, I can't remember who had the tweet I saw the other day, but there was a report that someone within the Cavaliers organization, it might have been the GM or their owner, whoever it was, there was maybe some rumors that if the Cavs are bounced early in the playoffs, there could be big changes coming to that roster. So maybe that's something that they've kind of heard in the back of their minds. There's obviously some thoughts maybe Donovan Mitchell gets traded this offseason. I think his contract is up at the end of next year.
New York Knick.
A lot of people seem to think, yeah, he might be a New York Knick.
There's been rumblings about that for a while. I feel like it just feels so right to give.
So maybe that's something that propels
that other guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that propels the Cavs to, want to make a deep playoff run, or maybe all that outside noise completely unravels them. But I think they're going to be able to get at least one series in here. And I think that, Magic, they'll be scrappy, but it's just not their time yet.
What would you think about the Bucks for Donovan Mitchell?
I don't know how that would work, but it would definitely be interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
My first thoughts,
contract-wise, who'd have to go out. Can they make that work with Giannis and Damian Lillard? Maybe. I mean, we've seen crazy things happen in the NBA, but yes.
Yeah.
Interesting little tidbit, though. Interesting you throw that one out there. You got any boots on the ground in Cleveland or Milwaukee? Then okay. All right.
No, sir. No, sir.
Gotcha.
No boots on the ground over there.
All right.
The 8 seed will take on the number 1, feels weird to say, Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, it does.
And this either way could be a fun series because, as you said, some people aren't like super in on the Thunder just beating whoever because they're the number 1 seed.
Mhm.
The Kings have a fun roster, a strong group, and the Pelicans. I don't know what the word to describe the Pelicans is, but like they can maybe not like shock you, but like they're in games. I feel like a lot. Like I feel like
Absolutely. Yep.
they can hang with a lot of teams. Could be wrong, but my gut tells me the Thunder. I like the Kings to upset them more than the Pelicans.
Mhm.
But if I had to pick one, it would be the Kings. But I'm going Thunder in 6. Either way for me. I
Okay.
think Gilgeous-Alexander has a lot to prove. He's kind of in that, for him leading a team, you want to not just flame out, and that kid's awesome.
Mhm.
So they built for this. This is a team and a fan base that has been patient for a while now, and I think they're going to show up. And that starts with the guys starting 5 and crew on the court. I think they do. I think they get it done no matter either way, no matter either matchup in 6 games.
Okay. I am not as high on the Thunder. I feel like I kind of fall into the same boat that I think a decent amount of people, not to the level. I don't know if you saw Shannon Sharp the other day on whatever show he was on, saying that they're the weakest 1 seed in NBA history. That's a little strong. Good team. I'm not going to knock the Thunder. Obviously, they did what they had to do to get to the number 1 seed. But there is a lot of inexperience on that team, and again, it kind of falls into the same boat of the Knicks. Like, yes, your best player can carry you at times. But again, defenses are better in the playoffs. They hone in on certain guys more. And I think whether it'll be New Orleans, whether it'll be Sacramento, if they whoever they end up playing, if Shea gets shut down, do the Thunder, excuse me, have enough around him? There's a lot of unproven guys on that team, so I'm not confident in the Thunder just yet. Now that I say that, I think there's more concerns if they play New Orleans. What is I can't think of his name. What is Zion's status going into this series if he's able? He's obviously out on Friday night. He's not going to play in that second play-in game. They already said. So there's huge concerns there to begin with. What is that injury going to look like? Will it linger? If they do advance, we obviously saw what the supporting cast of the Pelicans did last night. Without Zion, Brandon Ingram, and who was the other guy? CJ McCollum combined to go. Where was it? Somewhere down here. I lost it, but their numbers were not pretty the other night. I think they combined like 2 for 10 from deep or whatever, something ridiculous, and maybe had 20 points between 2 guys. Not great. That's the main point. So I think the Thunder, they were able to steal that series if it's against the Pelicans. If it is against the Kings, rather, I'm going Kings in 6. Obviously, they've been there before. They have, I think a more well-rounded team, more proven team. I think obviously Fox and Sabonis could just dominate again with the experience alone. So Kings in 6 if it's the Kings. Thunder in 6 if it is the Pelicans that they end up playing.
Lovely. I think this next one is pretty cut and dry, Ryan.
I think so. We've obviously we have seen before what these series look like when these two teams match up.
Not necessarily like a passing of the torch game, but like it'll be Jokic and crew just dominating the Lakers, who are, headed, of course, by a man that many consider to be the best player ever. Jokic might not be the best player ever, but he's definitely the best player in the league, a title that LeBron
For sure.
Held for a long time. So it's an interesting matchup. I don't see a single scenario where the Lakers can match up well enough with this Nuggets team to win this series in any number of games. It's Nuggets in 4. I don't think the Nuggets will really struggle much here.
No.
But it is LeBron. Maybe the Lakers squeak out 1. I don't see any more than that. It's that simple for me. And the Nuggets did dominate the season series. So
yeah, I was just going to say Denver beat them in 4 in last year's Western Conference Finals. They beat them 3-0 in the season series. In 3 games that weren't all that close. The second game, 114-106, kind of close. Say what you will about that game. I'm with you. Nuggets in 4. Lakers have not proven they can beat them in the last 7 games they've played against them. Denver has, pretty much dominated them right from the get-go in a lot of those games. And like you said, they get the best player on the planet. The only hope the Lakers have is that they, obviously have been playing more recently than the Nuggets have been. The Nuggets have been sitting around a little bit, kind of like we just talked about with the Celtics. So maybe the Lakers will catch them for, like you said, a game at the start, just because they are the hotter team right now. But it's Denver. I'm with you. I don't see any series unless Jamal Murray and Jokic both get hurt. Then the Lakers might be able to squeak the series out. Obviously not hoping for that. Don't get me wrong. It's the Nuggets all the way. There's no way the Lakers win this series.
No,
Unless
there
LeBron
isn't.
just goes for like 50 every night, which even that might not be enough. So
The Lakers do score though, as you
they
noted
do. Yep.
here. They are averaging 6th most points per game in the league, so they're gonna have to score a lot.
Yes, they are.
If they can score 125 points a game, maybe. Well, now we're talking, but I do not think that is possible. This series could be a lot of fun. The Suns and the Timberwolves. It could also be over quickly, as spoiler alert, you have.
Yes, I don't think this is going to be a long series at all.
I don't know if taking the cheese is the right word, but I'm taking the cheese, I'll say, on the Timberwolves. I like, for a while, they were pretty damn dominant. The first half of their season, I feel like a lot of it, they were really good. They held on to the 1 seed for a while. Obviously, you fall out of that and go to the 3. I don't know. Anthony Edwards is a guy to me that plays with a chip on his shoulder.
Absolutely.
And he's so good. Really has become a star. They have a decent cast around him. Timberwolves just feels right. I want to pick the Suns because it feels like it makes more sense.
Suns are a bad
Namely
matchup
because
for the
of
Timberwolves first round.
one Kevin Durant.
Yep.
But I don't know. I'm gonna go bold here and go with the Timberwolves. I'm trying to remember. I was all right. There was one guy I was wondering was whether he was on the Timberwolves or not, and I just confirmed. Yeah, like the Suns are definitely better, but I'm feeling it for the Timberwolves. I don't know. The Suns, something just feels off. I can't deny the Timberwolves here. I have great analysis, but
That's fair.
yeah,
fair
I don't
enough.
know. I'm not this basketball savant. You know this if you listen to the show. I
Fair.
go with my
Yep.
gut here, unless I have a more compelling argument. And this one I don't. I feel with the Timberwolves. I think Anthony Edwards rises to the occasion.
I might have some breaking news on the Heat and Sixers game. Now, I don't know if this is just I don't think he's acting because I don't think he's that type of player, but it might be an acting job. Heat season may have just ended. Jimmy Butler went up for a layup and came down. Now he's clutching his knee, and it kind of looks like he went knee on knee, so maybe it's not the worst thing on the planet, but he is down holding his knee. And as we know, we just talked about, playoff Jimmy tends to carry that team this time of year. So Heat might be in a little bit of trouble for this playing game. We'll have to wait and see, if he comes back and ends up playing, or if he's going to be out, or what the deal is there. But a tough blow for the Heat if that ends up being the case.
Oh boy, let me just gonna check the score here real
Not
quick.
good.
22-22. The other game starts at 9:30.
Yep. Like you said,
Yikes.
though.
Yikes.
Yeah, not good. Like you said, though, I'm going against your pick. I think it's the Suns all the way. Better all-around team. I'm with you, Anthony Edwards. He's great this time of year. Is one of the most, if not the most electric player in the NBA. At times, I don't like his supporting cast, though. I think Karl-Anthony Towns is the definition of soft in these type of performances. Same thing with Rudy Gobert. I don't trust them in big games at all. Mike Conley's still there. He's a pretty good player, so maybe he's the guy that the Timberwolves will have to rely on at times.
Luka Garza, Gonzaga legend. Maybe he shows up.
Maybe he shows up. Yeah.
They actually did. I see they just gave him. Did they call him up from the G League team, or did they give him a standard contract?
I don't know. We do not see.
I don't know, but I do remember Luka Garza. Shout out to him.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm feeling the Timberwolves, man.
All right. You're going against
mix
all
things up a little bit somehow. I'll be bold.
Yeah, it's fair. I was gonna say you're going against
bold.
all tradition here because the Suns, they just absolutely destroyed them in the season series. 3 games to none. None of the games were close. 133 to 115, 97-87 to 125 to 106. So it had been Suns all the way. You were going against the mold though. The Suns. Hey, I'll give you credit where credit's due if they end up coming in and winning this series. But the Suns, they're looking fully healthy. I think, they have everybody back finally. It seems like, the whole year didn't feel like they had their big 3 healthy all at the same time. Beal back. He's been playing great. We've seen Booker have, massive games in the playoffs before. And you mentioned it. Can never count out Kevin Durant in these situations as well. So I just think that is a matchup from hell for the Timberwolves. Which it'd be kind of crazy to say that, a 3 beating a 6 might be the upset of the series. But of course we'll have to wait and see on that.
The Wolves can't play some good defense, though.
They can, yes. That is what they'll have to hang their hat on. But again, can you keep that trio down for long? I just don't know.
I kind of wonder too with the Suns. Like everybody talks about now every year, like when are Tatum and Brown gonna win? When is Luka gonna win? When is whoever else? Like Jokic has done it, so he's not really in there anymore. But like, I don't know. People know Kevin Durant's good, but like, I don't feel like people talk about the Suns. Like, when is Durant gonna get another one? Like, it's just like the Suns need to do something.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they typically don't. In terms of getting the big prize. But how many? When was the last time they made the Western Conference Finals?
The Suns
recently.
When did they lose to the Bucks in the finals? That was 21.
Yeah.
22?
I think so. Yeah.
One of those years. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the last time because obviously they went in pretty high last year, I think, or I can't remember what seeding they were, but obviously
they beat the Clippers in 6 in 2021. They go to the finals, so see if they can get back there.
Yep.
Mavericks and Clippers. This one is kind of a toss up to
what to do. Yeah, what to do for this series, to be honest.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I had the Clippers at first. And then I saw there might be some questions about Kawhi. I think I can't remember who it was that I saw maybe missed the last 7 games of the year. Now, again, could have just been load management because we know what the Clippers like to do in that situation and what Kawhi Leonard, he's, I feel like, synonymous with the load management stuff. So maybe they're just kind of holding him out for that situation. But regardless, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I've seen, this story before with him getting banged up, Paul George getting banged up right around this time of year as well. Not to say that he's hurt, but we've just seen that in the past. So I'll do mine first to get it out of the way because I just kind of went on my own little spiel here. I'm taking the Mavericks. Mavericks, to me, I feel like they are approaching the Oilers level as we'll get into hockey in a second here, but you got to think the Mavericks have to break through at some point. With all the talent on that team, Luka very easily could win the MVP this year with the year he had. As much as we don't like the guy, Kyrie, give credit where credit's due, had a very good year as well for them. Those are 2 guys that I feel like nobody wants to see in a playoff series because both of them have had their big moments in the past as well. So I'm going to go with the Mavericks in 6 just because I don't know about the Clippers. I see, spoiler alert for you, that I may have done some convincing there because you were on the Clippers beforehand and now you are changing over to my side as well with Dallas.
Not sure what you're talking about, Ryan.
Okay. You're right. There is no proof that you ever had the Clippers anymore. So
I didn't know the Kawhi stuff.
I didn't either. Like I said, I changed my prediction last night.
And that really changes things because I was going into it like, all right, Kawhi, Paul George, and crew, another chance. They show up. We've seen, it's been a while, but Kawhi, has taken a team to a championship. Paul George is Paul George. Maybe he breaks through someday, maybe he isn't, but he's still a damn good player. It felt right, but I don't know. I also just remembered, I knew Luka was good, but he almost averaged 34 points a game. That is completely insane.
He's a madman.
And I hate to give Kyrie credit, but he had a great year, and I like the Oilers comparison. I've never really thought of that with the Mavericks, and you kind of sold me. I'm gonna go 7 though, just switched up a little bit. Maybe a little bit dogfight. The Clippers, they would love to get this stigma away from them and make a little run here. I think that might be in the back of their minds, and maybe we get a battle of the series here. But I'm gonna go with the Mavericks too. And if the Clippers win, I blame you. So
fair. I mean, I had the Clippers I had the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals if they won this series. Against Denver, but again, the fact that there is just some uncertainty around Leonard, I just can't shake it. Even though the Clippers did win the season series, 2-1, all these games pretty interesting games. 144 to 126. Dallas won the first one. 107-88. The Clippers won the second, and they also won the third game. 120 to 111. So I feel like this one has the potential to be the most entertaining series out of every one of them. I know we just talked up a lot of these series here. But star power, what these are two teams that are kind of looking to break through in their own way. Like both these teams have the stigma around them of like all the talent in the world, but can just never figure it out. We've seen both these teams unravel late in playoff series, and late in the year as well. At times, we've also seen them been great. So it'll be interesting to see, what kind of storylines come out in this series. And of course the playoffs as a whole, because it should be entertaining. Should be a lot of good matchups. There really isn't, there's a couple of, I saw some people joke that the commissioner wants the Cavs and Magic series over quick because two of them are on like NBA TV, I think, is where the games will be broadcasted. And I think they're like afternoon games as well. So not the greatest, start to that series. But if you're a Cavs and or Magic fan, I'm sure you'll find your own entertainment in it. So the power to you there.
Yes. What's next here? I kind of lost my train of thought. I was looking at something.
It's kind of tough to go through.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's tough to do a full on. You can do the bracket challenge now. I looked up the other day, but it's kind of tough to do a bracket challenge when some of the playoff matchups aren't even solidified yet. So I thought we'd just kind of give our Eastern Conference, Western Conference, and overall just NBA Finals predictions. And you can start if you'd like, because I cut you off and I feel bad about it.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay,
Right?
fine.
No, it truly does not matter to me at all when we're talking basketball.
All right.
Celtics over Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm
on the Knicks.
I'm trying to will a Boston New York Eastern Conference Final into existence more so than I believe in this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, credit to me being very honest with the people.
Fair.
Have to lead from the front. And then I like the Nuggets over the Mavericks. Yes, I have put the Mavericks in my Western Conference Final now. I kind of just think if it does get to that point, I did have the Clippers, of course, winning it first. I kind of wonder if Luka would just take over and beat the Thunder rather handily.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm going
very
Nuggets
well see that. Yep.
over Mavericks in the West. And then I couldn't pick the Nuggets. Like I can't do it over the Celtics. I believe that they can do it. I am not super confident that they can beat the Nuggets in a series because they are the Nuggets. They are very, very good, and they have been here before.
Yep.
Celtics have two, minus the winning
Celtics
part.
have, but yeah.
I just don't know if it gets to Game 7 here, how the Celtics lose. Like the Warriors are so much different than the Nuggets are.
Mm-hmm.
But like that they get so close, I think they'll just find a way somehow. And it'll be so difficult. But this team is special. I have to pick them. It would feel wrong to pick against them. And I believe they can do it. It'll just be very, very difficult at times.
Mm-hmm. If it happens, I think just the matchup alone, I think that could, because I mean, we've had some pretty, lackluster matchups in the NBA Finals of the Nuggets in Miami one is a prime example a couple years ago. Like that was just a team just completely overmatched. That was Nuggets in Miami. I don't know why. No, was it who did Miami play? Was it the Lakers? Or did they play the Nuggets too? Why am I blanking on
Nuggets? I think, right?
Yeah, and then they played the Lakers in the bubble championship too as well. Like that was a series that was a joke as well. But yeah, to kind of prove that point, like the Bucks and Suns wasn't the greatest NBA Finals either at times. Obviously it was cool at the time to see Giannis get one, but like Celtics and Nuggets, if that is the NBA Finals, like that could do, I feel like, absolute numbers, two absolute juggernauts of teams. Storylines, like you said, Nuggets have been there before, trying to repeat, Jokic trying to win back-to-back championships. Celtics trying to get over that hump finally, Jason Tatum maybe trying to silence a hell of a lot of doubters that have just kind of come out of the woodworks this season, which has been, an absolute joke to see Jason Tatum go into, come into the season as like one of the most hated players, it seems like, throughout, or one of the most like scrutinized, kind of ridiculous. But for my playoff predictions, I hate it. I hate that I'm making it Celtics and Heat again, but I just think if the Heat win tonight, look out. Their matchup's not easy, but again, we've seen this story with the Heat before. I'd like it if the Celtics get them in the first round, as I said earlier, for the Celtics to knock them out in 4. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I think you're looking at Celtics Heat again in the Eastern Conference Finals. Celtics in 6, again, just for the fact that the Heat, know how to play the Celtics well. I'm with you. I think it's Nuggets and Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals. That should be a dogfight as well. Two very good teams, but I think the Nuggets, they're the tougher team. Again, they've been there before. They know what it takes to win. So they knock off Dallas in 6 as well, like you had. And then I am going with Celtics over Nuggets as well in 7. It'll be the toughest fight the Celtics have all playoffs. Like I said, the only team that can beat them is going to come out of the Western Conference this year. We've seen Denver give them trouble this season. But with the talent the Celtics have, with the level they've played at this season, there isn't a team that should be able to beat them in a 7-game series. Like if there was a time to win, it is now with how star-studded this roster is, and how talented this team can be when they want to be it. I think they're getting in the right headspace, I hope. And I don't think they're going to come out, have, these games we've seen in the past where they just don't show up for performances. So I'm excited for the playoffs to start. I do like really quick. I forgot to bring this up before I started my little spiel. I like your Boston, New York, because I feel like we haven't had a good Boston, New York, series in anything of late. Obviously, you had that Red Sox wild card game a couple years ago with the Yankees.
But the Islanders don't really count. I'm
not,
sorry.
That's what I mean.
Like,
not really.
The Bruins play the Islanders, but like, there's not that much hatred. Like, the Bruins and the Rangers aren't like deep-seated rivals, but they do battle.
But there's a little bit of rivalry
when you
there.
Think of the premier New York team, you think of the Rangers. And the last time, was that 13? Yeah, that was 2013 when Krug's first year. That was the last time they played the Rangers in the playoffs. So,
But yeah, I mean, we haven't had really anything like that. Again, the Yankees, Red Sox, that was a 1-game, play-in type of thing. So you haven't had a back and forth dogfight Boston, New York series in a while. That would be an interesting one if it is Celtics Knicks, because I mean, again, this day and age, I personally don't really think of Celtics Knicks as a big rivalry. But obviously, in years past, or way back in the day, that was one of the premier rivalries in the NBA. So to see that maybe come to light again if that matchup ends up happening, that'd be kind of cool to see, I think.
Very cool. I agree. Let's see if they can do it.
Nope, let's hope. Is there anything you're looking forward to real quick? Just final kind of, because we really didn't spend a whole lot of time on the Celtics, obviously with no game to preview. But anything you're hoping, you're looking forward to, or just, because one of the things for me really quick, you kind of touched on a little bit with, they've been resting guys of late. Unleash Porzingis. Obviously we know what Brown and Tatum are going to bring to the table, but if you can get Porzingis playing at a high level like he was, at times in the beginning of the season, middle of the season, didn't fall off at the end of the year, but again, it was the load management type of stuff, so you really didn't see as much Porzingis, I feel like, as we had seen earlier in the year. Unleash him, get him going right. If you have a 3-headed monster coming into the playoffs, as they should with him, Brown, and Tatum, you should be unstoppable. And then we obviously know what Holiday and White can do in big moments, Holiday for all those years with Milwaukee, White with the Celtics last year. But you get Porzingis going and, getting him averaging 20 and, 10 plus rebounds or whatever it is, you should be absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah, you can just attack in waves. I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out in a playoff setting, because the depth is tremendous.
That's another good point too. Yep.
I think that with the trajectory Peyton Pritchard has been on, he is going to be so annoying.
Yep,
for other teams.
That's another one I was kind of looking forward to too. Yep.
The first wave, the main wave that the Celtics can provide. They have Pritchard, who has proven he is the real deal.
Yep.
More and more with time. You have Sam Hauser, who is reliable. Kada, out of respect, I love Kada. Hope we see him.
You wonder how much he's going to play. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. The depth is just a problem. I'm looking forward to them hopefully just absolutely pantsing teams every now and again, and just showing that they're not to be fucked with, because they shouldn't be. And that's exciting. This is just a wonderfully constructed roster, and one that is poised to absolutely win, and I hope they do.
Yeah, I mean, that is I'm sure there's maybe some basketball purists that might be listening and going, oh, they're really going to talk about, depth guys in a playoff series. How often do you see the 7th, 8th, 9th guys? I think it does. I feel like you and I are maybe some of the few people that would think that, because I feel like there's a lot of people, and in some cases is it rightfully so. You're not going to see like we just said, Kada is probably not going to have a big performance.
No, that would
big
just
showing.
Respect,
same thing.
I love Kada.
But Tillman was good this year. Is Xavier Tillman going to be a guy you rely on off the bench? Probably not. It's going to come down to your Pritchards and your Hausers. And I'm curious to see, the run that Pritchard went on at the end of the season, like you said, to solidify himself as one of the best, bench scorers in the league. I feel like, or a guy you can rely pretty heavily on coming off the bench. I'm curious to see if that, that carries over into the playoffs because we've seen Pritchard at times in the playoffs play really, really well. And then other times he just kind of loses it. I don't think it's going to happen this year because, like you said, I think his confidence is as sky high as it could ever be. Hauser had some moments at the end of the year where he maybe, lost his shot a little bit. So you hope that doesn't happen in the playoffs. But those are two guys I feel like, me personally, I feel more comfortable leaning a little bit more on going into the playoffs than maybe I did halfway through the year. Because again, I think I said it one of the times we talked about the Celtics. Like there is some uncertainty there of those guys. Can you rely on them in the playoff series if you have to? I feel much better about that now because of how well they played down the stretch. And I feel like you just kind of said, you probably feel the same way.
Yeah, the collective energy in the team and the structure is just different this year. Everything is taken to another level. We'll see. I'm very excited.
Absolutely. How can you not be?
How could you not be? It could be fun. And who likes to talk about fun in the booth?
Who
The
has more
man
fun?
that I was not devastated because I didn't see it coming, but wouldn't have been like super surprised if he made the announcement. He did. The guy says, "Who has more fun than us?" Jack Edwards is retiring after the postseason as the Bruins play-by-play broadcaster. 19 years. A great career even before he came here. Bruins games will never be the same.
It's going to be weird. Like I said, you said Gorman earlier in the year. I don't want to say losing him because it makes it sound like the guy's dying, but like the fact that Jack Edwards and Mike Gorman are both retiring in the same year, like it feels like a piece of your childhood like dies. Like it really does. Like obviously growing up with both those guys calling as many games as they did, for as long as they did. Like it's weird that the both of them, just alone going in that alone, both going out the same year. It's going to be weird moving forward for sure.
I have a tremendous amount of respect for Jack's willingness to say in his statement, like, I can't live up to the goals I set for myself and the standards in the booth. It's no secret, he's a different broadcaster than he was in his prime. He is the best, and it is going to suck without him. And even the people that hate him are going to notice how weird it is for him to not call games. Will they be happy? Sure, someone will. And I'm not going to stop that. Like I can't police that. I can't change some people's minds on it. But Jack is the best, dude. He's a tremendous guy. I got to know him just a little bit, but everything I've ever heard nice about the guy is backed up. He was nice enough to come on our show.
Just gonna say, respect him enough to come on the show and do that. Yeah, for sure.
Gave us a ton of time. Like he could have given us 20 minutes. I think he gave us closer to 40. He is the best. And he's an inspiration to me. Him and Don Arcillo, I might not be doing this if it wasn't for them. Don's in San Diego. Jack is gonna retire potentially. Maybe he'll buy a house somewhere, but maybe he'll just go back to New Hampshire and chill. Maybe he'll make appearances in the booth, but he's been tremendous at his job. Obviously, it's gone a little different. He's not the guy he was in his prime, but he cares so much and wants to entertain so much, and he is going to be so missed because he is the best. I'm gonna say it 40 times. He really is. He's a gold standard. He's electric. He's funny, extremely clever, very detail oriented in the way he explains things, and you can tell he puts a lot of thought into what he does, and that's special. It is, especially in a big hockey market. I'm gonna miss him a lot, and it sucks to watch the tribute videos. Really, tugged at the heartstrings, and things were sad last year, knowing that Bergeron and Krejci could have been done. Knowing the last game, whenever it is going to be Jack's last, will really, really,
it's gonna be
really
so
suck.
Weird. Yeah,
will really suck. It's gonna hit me like a fucking freight train, and I'm not looking forward to it. Hopefully somehow it is for the ultimate prize. But I love Jack. I always will. If you don't, that sucks that you can't. But I get it because he is one of a kind. Really one of a kind.
Yep.
He's
his own man.
He's awesome, and I'm gonna miss him tremendously in the booth. What do you think, Ryan?
I think you summed it up good. I mean, it's like I said, it's very weird to see him again to pull it back to Gorman, both of them going out because they're both. I feel like maybe you could say broadcasting legends. I feel like Gorman, you definitely could. Again, there's not animosity, but there is a little bit of give or take when it comes to Jack Edwards, depending on who you ask. But I think definitely from a Boston sports standpoint, two absolute legends that are both going out. The little different circumstances because obviously we talked about the Jack Edwards situation, his health and everything. You wonder how much that kind of played into this. And that's the thing that sucks about it too. But it's obviously a guy, in the right mindset could continue to do this. Like he, from a game standpoint, hadn't slowed down any, wasn't making, colossal mistakes on the broadcast there, or just a guy that, obviously still seems like he loved doing it. Like it didn't, show any, downtick in anything at him wanting to call games or anything. So you wonder if that's kind of what's making him step away, and that sucks. But yeah, a guy that, like you said, respects quite a bit for doing what he was able to do. Coming in, being on the show at Merrimack, and just everything he's done. For Boston sports fans, watching growing up again, calling games and everything. So it's going to be weird having him not in the booth. I think Brickley, I saw the other day, basically said he was blindsided by the whole thing because I feel like he kind of came out of nowhere. Like no one knew about this obviously until like an hour before last night's game. That's
Yeah,
at least when I saw it. So
I think Berkeley said he found out like during the Washington game, I think.
okay,
So I kind of wonder if like he had this in the back of his mind going into the year where he had like scheduled nights off.
yeah, yep.
It is what
Yeah,
it
I mean
is,
that was
man.
definitely
Like
the
he's
start
in his
because
mid.
like you don't.
I think he's like 66, 67. It's pretty old. Like
Mm,
especially like a lot of people these days. Like I remember hearing growing up, like 65 is the average retirement age. I don't know what it's like now, but this is right around the time you probably should retire.
yep.
Um, and he's going out in a place he feels comfortable with, with the standards he was talking about. I'm sure he would love to, keep up, to his standards better that he sets for himself and keep going. But it is what it is. And
Yep.
like I said, I have a lot of respect for him to, take this and be like, it's time. So,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
it is what it is, and he's the best. So, there's one more time because I'm gonna miss him a lot. And he cares so much, and he will continue to, and I'm sure we'll see him on broadcasts. Like
Oh,
it'll
absolutely.
be hard to keep him away. Um, but yeah, what a legend! Just endless amount of great jokes, great moments, hijinks, laughs. Just the gold standard to me.
Hmm.
Jack is the best. So it sucked to see that yesterday. It really did. It was an emotional day. So
Hmm.
just he's just been there as my whole life as a Bruins fan, pretty much. So
Yep.
um, yeah, best of luck to him. So whatever he does next. I wonder how active he'll be on his Twitter. It'd be funny if he still like tweeted out line charts, like he still did
Yeah.
his
Yep.
line charts
Hmm.
every once in a while because he doesn't do those for every game now. But um, yeah, I'm gonna miss Jack a lot. Um, Pittsburgh on last Saturday. I'll address last Saturday as a college hockey fan. First, BC gets blanked in the national championship game. The whole Cutter Gauthier thing.
Just gonna ask, did they
Tears on
kind of
the other
deserve
side.
to? Like,
Uh,
I'm big into the karma there, and
so yeah, like I stand by this. The whole wanting out of Philly, the way that was handled, I thought it was overblown and a lot of what people were saying was cringy. Um, and I still do stand by that. Some people were crazy about that situation, still are. Um, Cutter Gauthier is an asshole for this. It's not debatable.
oh, how the
Um,
turntables have turned.
yeah, man, like I think of him differently. I definitely do. I did a little bit with the Philly stuff. Like it is what it is. Like, but it is his destiny at the end. Like he can control it. He should if he wants to, if he feels so compelled. This was just a pure asshole thing to do. If I were his teammates, I'd be pretty pissed.
I'm
Like
sure there
really
were probably
pissed.
some that were like,
You just can't do that. And it's different if you're whoever. Like if you score less, like it's whatever. He almost scored 40 goals this year. And he does nothing. And he's the first guy they show all sad when they lose.
get what you deserve in that sense. Like I texted you, like, does he also have BC? He's one of those idiots that gets the tattoo of the championship before
No, I
like
don't know.
That's what I mean. That was the situation he was put in. Like, it's one of those stupid things where it's like,
Mhm.
dude, you haven't done anything yet. What are you running your mouth for? And then it comes
Yeah,
out,
it's
you
just
kind of
crazy.
deserve to lose afterwards. Like, that's how I
Too
feel
much
about it.
confidence in himself. To
Like,
do that against Denver too is insane. Like learn your
absolutely.
opponent a little better.
Yeah. You're not
The
playing
better
any
news,
schlubs or anything.
that Ryan Leonard, Caps GM Brian McClellan announced today that he will stay. I think all three of the freshmen will stay, leading um, the revenge efforts next year, which I think they have a good chance of completing early on, but we'll see what happens. They landed who I think will be their third line center from Providence in the portal, which is nice. They needed to fill that hole. Don't love the player, but I think he can be a solid fit. Brady Berard. Ryan Leonard is staying. I heard from someone, you know, from someone I know through someone close to him, that he was leaning towards staying on Friday. So these discussions had been had before the national championship. He's staying by it. I'm sure there was temptation to join the Caps on their playoff run now. He clearly wants to stick around. And look, I got a little nervous when they were talking about him leaving, but from what I heard Friday, I had a good amount of um, stability behind. I don't even know what the word is. Like I just felt comfortable that he was going to stay in the
Confidence.
end.
Yeah.
The group is too good there. He loves his line mates, the freshman line. They want to do it again. They've talked this year. They came here to win a national championship. They got so close. And even Leonard, Matt Davis in that game. I don't know if you saw the save on Twitter on the wide open net on Ryan Leonard. One of the best saves ever made in any level of hockey was that save right there. That's just when the game felt like it was dead. Like there was 2-0 going to the third. That was early in the third. I was like, that's just a bad omen. If that's not going to go in, like it's not going to work, no matter what the final score is going to be. Denver wins the national championship. I did nail the matchup in my bracket. I said BC versus Denver with the opposite result. Um, they outscored opponents 8-4 in 4 games and still won the national championship. They won the national championship scoring 8 goals. Matt Davis let up 4. He was preposterously good this tournament. Like experience matters, coaching matters, and a hot goalie. That's what matters every year. And BC almost broke the mold. Youngest team in the country, young goalie, second year head coach, almost got it. But hey, I'll say it every year. And I'll probably in this scenario, if BC is going to play an experienced team next year, I'll still pick BC if I feel comfortable if they're in that position. But it matters. David Carl's won 2 national championships now. I believe he won one as an assistant before he got promoted. He won for the World Junior team with the freshman line and some other BC guys for USA this year. He's not super eager to go to the NHL, but teams should be calling. He should be the #1 coaching prospect in the world. He's phenomenal. He had the team ready. They didn't shut down the top guys on BC, but they did enough. They blocked a lot of shots. Their goalie was fantastic, and they were well coached and experienced. It is what it is. It sucked, but luckily I was at an engagement party for a friend of mine, so I didn't really have much time to sulk because I was having too much fun.
There you go. That's
Um,
good.
the drive back home the next morning stunk. It sunk in a little
When
more,
it all,
but
yeah. When it all hits you.
when so much is going on at a party like that, it was a good way to keep my mind off of it a little bit. But it is what it is. They lose. The storybook season falls short and gets shut out. The national championship stinks, but it is what it is. Um, but yeah, that happened on the 13th, and at that point, things were kicking up. So I was in and out of watching the Bruins game. So I am going off of the highlights here, pretty much. They win 6-4 at Pittsburgh, shuts down Pittsburgh's playoff chances, essentially. Omar stopped 28 of 32. Didn't really have any issues with his play here, just by letting out 4 goals. They outshoot the Penguins 32-31. Pasta, Foyle, Zach each have 2 points. Pat Maroon's debut features 13 minutes and 16 seconds of ice time and 5 hits. DeBrusk, nice to see him score this time of year, leading into playoffs. Scores a greasy one off of a pass for Foyle and Peak as well. The 49th game in which they scored first, Ryan, second to the Vancouver Canucks. So hopefully they can keep that going in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
you'd hope that, yeah.
It's always nice when you score first. Don't care what the result is. It just gives you some comfortability at the beginning. or whenever the first goal happens, I suppose. Back-to-back 20-goal seasons for one Pavel Zacha, 21 in each, and 57 and 59 points respectively. Didn't love the Ruskell, pretty poor defense on the breakout and pretty poor defense by Matt Grzelcyk on Drew O'Connor. Kevin Shattenkirk scores on a nice snipe there. On the Marchand shorthanded goal, I guess the Penguins went with the no defense strategy. Marchand finishes the season with 8 more goals than last season without Bergeron, I should say, and the same amount of points, 67. The future did not hit over 70 and a half. Rest in peace to that. Would have been nice. Just wasn't in the cards. Not a lot of multi-point games late in the season. You need those in a situation like that. Bunting stuffs one home. McAvoy can't do much trying to get back, and Marchand just gets walked by Drew O'Connor. Not great, but it's okay when you win. In the line we might see in the playoffs, Ryan had a really nice highlight here. Lauko, Geeky, and Frederick. Nice little puck movement along the wall. Ends up out front to Geeky. Great goal. He's become a nice finisher on this team. We kind of saw that with Frederick early on, not as much in the second half. But, like, they have depth guys that can legitimately finish in Frederick and Geeky. Like I said, hasn't been happening as much for Frederick. But it's nice to have those finishers, and especially guys that, still on the younger side of things. So Geeky, I believe, is a little bit older, but Heinen forces a turnover, gets it back from Pasa, eventually gets the empty netter. Malkin scored after, just garbage time, padding the stats. And yeah, tough one for the Penguins. Really put their playoff hopes in a bleak light there. You might have watched more of this game than me. Do you have any takeaways from this?
I did not watch this game.
Okay, all righty. That's okay. I think we covered it fairly well.
Yep.
There's not as much to cover in this one because I think the Bruins kind of mailed it in the last 2 games, and I don't have many concerns about it.
Absolutely mailed it in the last couple of games. Like, it was
And maybe
clear and evident.
Doesn't matter to me either way. Maybe they partially did this because they would have preferred to play the Maple Leafs in the event that the Panthers won last night. Some might see that, if that's true, be like, hey, why are they scared of the Lightning? Is this good for the mentality of the team? We don't know. We don't know if they actually did that on purpose or not, I should say. Big opportunity for Washington, though. They took advantage of a lame duck Bruins effort. Second win in a row against the Bruins, unless there was another game mixed in there, because I was at the terrible game on February 10th. They lost. Swayman stops 23-24. He played solid. Bruins just have 16 shots, one of their lowest outputs since like 2005.
Had like 3 halfway through the third or second period. Yeah, it was so awful.
Bad. Huge win for the Caps. Bruins just took the night off. I thought the Carlson goal was like a quasi power play with the puck movement. It wasn't in terms of manpower, but it looked like it a little. And Dowd pickpockets kind of cruising Marchand late in the game, scores the empty net. That's really all I have as a takeaway here. I'm not gonna really analyze this game that much because it was pretty shitty. Not much
to analyze, yeah.
But they're clinched. Who cares? Let's not overreact about this. No need to do that. Ottawa, last night, 17 saves, 19 shots for Mr. Linus Ullmark. Bruins, another slow start, but they end up with 35 shots on goal. If you count the 60 minutes of the Capitals game and the first 9 minutes of this one, let me just check this number here. They had 22 shots. Wait, I might have done the math wrong. It might have been
1 times that by 3.
Might have been 89. I might have done the math totally wrong. 69, 89 minutes. They didn't have a lot of shots. They had 22 in whatever the minute range. I think I just realized I did the math wrong quickly last night. By a lot, actually. They finished the game with 35. So at one point, very, somewhat far into the game, they had 6 shots on goal. And you're like, they have just no shots in the past like 60 plus minutes. But they go from 6, a lackluster start, to finishing with 35. So maybe that's a good sign. Maybe they kind of snapped out of it. Just kind of wanted to get good reps in, establish some chemistry a little more for guys like Maroon, maybe some new line combos. Beecher was sent down for Jason Megna. Actually, I don't remember if it's Jason or Jacob, which one of it is, but I wonder if this was just a reward. Like they signed him as an AHL depth guy, Megna, and he had a good year. Maybe they're just like, screw it, let's reward him, let's give him a game.
See that, yeah.
Could have been somewhat paper tracks transaction related, daily financials. You bank in some cap space a little bit. I don't know how much you have to do that at this point in the season. But Beecher could be back up tomorrow, according to Mark Diver, so we'll see. Yuri Schmeichel scores his first of the year. They signed him from somewhere in Europe in the summer, and he scored his first of the year as a 27-year-old, first of his career in the last game of the regular season. So that's pretty neat. Nice little memento for the season ends unceremoniously, unfortunately, for the Senators' sake. Pretty rough year.
Bless you, question mark, maybe?
There it is.
There you
Oh,
go.
jeez. Too easy. The score was just too easy. Kind of went on autopilot mode playing defense here. A weird one get through Olmark again, though, with Chikrin's goal. Not the best goals for him to let up, but little squeakers, not like the end of the world, but not what you'd love to see in the last game of the season. Not his best work. Zaka gets a goal relatively late on a backhander, padding the stats a little bit, tying that career high he set last year. And Artem Zub scores a shorthanded empty netter after some poor Bruins puck management. So that be the season. That be the regular season here. I'm fine with the team right now. A couple stinkers late in the season, but they had a pretty good year. They could have been a lot worse given what they lost. Pastrnak finishes with 47 goals and 110 points. Marchand eclipses his goal total last year by 8 without his buddy Bergeron. Coyle hits 60 points. Zaka hits 59. McAvoy, I think McAvoy could have been better this year.
Kind of a down year
I
for
have
him,
nothing against him like that concerns me about him, but I just think he could have been better. He did also have, a good stretch late in the season where he was scoring goals more. So you'll take it in the end. He's never consistently this basket case player for you, but he had some moments this year that were a little uncharacteristic.
Wasn't he banged up at the start of the
stretches.
year too, or
He
after the
might have
first?
been.
I thought. Why do I think there was an injury? Maybe I'm getting him confused with a couple of years ago when they had everybody out to start the year. But
Maybe it was last year. I don't know. It feels like so long ago. The
does,
start of the
yeah.
season.
Yep.
He did miss 8 games, so
Okay.
he's fine though. Some rough moments here and there, but he's fine. He's Charlie McAvoy.
If you're gonna have something to
paint the
complain
bad
about this
picture
Bruins
here.
team, I can't imagine Charlie McAvoy is at the top or anywhere close to the top of the list.
Exactly. Fascinating note with the way Frederick was going in the first half of the season. This might surprise you. Trenton Frederick and Jake DeBrusk finished with the same amount of points.
That is very surprising. I would have thought they were nowhere close to each other.
If Frederick kept it up, he would have beat him. But DeBrusk still, say what you want. He did score 19 goals. That's solid. Frederick 18. Kiki is 39. JVR fell off a cliff. He'd be looking at 50 points if closer to 50 points. He finishes with 38. Heinen had a great year, 36 and 74. Shacker gets some nice games late in the season. Only played 61 this year, though. Jesper Boquist became a good player for this team. Hopefully Justin Brazeau can be back. He had 7 points in 19 games. Jeremy Swayman finishes the year with 25, 10, and 8 record at 253 and a 916. Maybe shutouts. To scroll down here for shutouts. 3 shutouts for him. 22, 10, and 7 for Allmark with a 2.57 and a 915. He had 2 shutouts. They both had an assist as well. So Swayman played 165 more minutes than Allmark too. So a pretty close split. That accounts for about 3 games worth more of ice time. So that's where we're at. We'll see what Pastrnak can will this team towards with Marchand and McAvoy leading the charge, but they're gonna need Pastrnak. They've shown that this year that they do need him to carry them sometimes. And that's okay because he is capable of that. Before we get into some playoff stuff, just do my quick rundown of college free agent signings and stuff. Let's look. What was last week? So let's pick off from here. Noah Hannafin, outside of college. I think it was 58.8 he signed for. Yeah, 8 years, 58.8. The dream is officially dead.
Ooh.
It's great value.
It is. You know, you can't complain
Great.
about the contract value. That's for sure.
Great value. Some might disagree. I think it's very fair. Um, Great for them. Like it's really that simple. Sam Colangelo signs with Anaheim. He scored his first NHL goal already. Wilbur Scoog from BU goes to Florida on an ELC. He might have been on their minor league team. Lane Hudson, one of the best players in college, signs with the Montreal Canadiens. Already has an assist. He's going to be a good player in the show. Frank Nazar from Michigan suits up, scores an NHL goal in his AHL debut. Maybe part of the next wave with Connor Bedard. I see a lot of Brayden Point similarities with Frank Nazar. Dylan Peterson signs another BU guy, goes to BU, goes to St. Louis. Cutter Gauthier goes to Anaheim. See you later. Gonna miss the goals, not gonna miss that BS you pulled.
Stupidity. Yeah.
I'll call this now. The Lightning don't have tons of great prospects all the time because they trade a lot of picks. They signed Dylan Duke from Michigan. Dylan Duke will be one of the next guys that kind of comes out of nowhere. People don't really expect him. Mid-round pick and is a pain in the ass as a winger for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Remember the name Dylan Duke because I like Dylan Duke. Gavin Brindley, love Gavin Brindley. He signs with Columbus. He played it. He had his debut. I think he's going to be an awesome pro. I think he could have stayed another year in Michigan, but I don't think it's a bad decision to leave. Luke Tuck, brother of Alex Tuck, signs with the Canadiens. Also leaves BU. BU losing a lot of guys. Ty Gallagher, Bruins prospect, was made the 7th defenseman this year. Didn't get a lot of playing time. He will be transferred from BU, so we'll see where he ends up. I like Ty Gallagher a lot. I hate what happened to him and all that less playing time. Marshall Warren, former BC guy. Just want to shout out to Marshall Warren. He signed with the Islanders. Like him. Massimo Rizzo leaves the national championship. Denver Pioneers to sign with Philly. Shai Buyam leaves Denver as well to sign with the Detroit Red Wings. And Marc-Andre Fleury signs one more year with the Minnesota Wild, in which he said will be his last. The retirement tour will come out for Flower, one of the greatest goalies ever, and a wonderful guy from all accounts. So good for him. You know, he's got some clarity on his future, and we'll see how that final season goes next year because Wild have not made the playoffs. Ryan, your status on the Bruins right now before we get into predictions. How are you feeling? Anything you want to highlight, concerns, or things you like after the last stinker couple of games and as we approach another duel with the Toronto Maple Leafs?
I'm in a really weird spot, to be honest, because we talked about earlier, like I'm fully happy, and I was one of the people that said that they should, if they can do it, tank and try to get the 2 to try to get Toronto, because I think that's the best matchup or best scenario you could have had, because I wanted, as much as we've heard that they are not the Lightning of old, I just didn't want to have to deal with the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round, because I think that's a bad matchup for a Bruins team that has plenty of question marks, as we know, going into the playoffs. Even though they did have a good regular season, there are still question marks. They are still the Bruins. So in that sense, like I am happy that they got Toronto, but on the flip side of it, in order to get Toronto, like I know I just said I wanted them to lose both the games, but like, and again, maybe it's what you said. Maybe they just came out, wanted to, just try to, go for a skate a little bit here, work on some chemistry stuff, and not really care about these last 2 games. There's a part of me that just does not like that precedence that like, all right, we're just going to mail it in the last 2 games and then just be able to pick it right back up when the playoffs start. Like, I don't know how many times teams can do that or how that, works from time to time. I don't, I've heard some people argue like you're messing with the game here and the game's going to come back to burn you. Obviously we just talked about that with the PEC situation, and those comments. So I don't know, like I'm in like I said, a weird spot. I like that they have Toronto. I think it's their best chance to win a first round playoff series, but I just hope that they don't kind of bite themselves in the ass here, just not really coming out and playing these 2 games maybe as they should have. Again, the positive takeaway that you could have, like you said, is they did pick it up in the 3rd period of last night's game with the crazy shot totals. Maybe there is some hope there that, all right, maybe they were just kind of figuring some things out, trying some different things, different looks. Like we said, the Celtics do at the end of the season where, they had those kind of similar stretches where it's like, all right, why are you playing as, down to your competition as, you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But in the end, like it ends up being they're just working on stuff and trying to figure some things out. I don't know. Like I said, it's Toronto. I'm confident whenever the Bruins play Toronto, but there is just that little inkling in the back of my mind that, maybe you hope they didn't just kind of bore yourself to sleep here a little bit these last couple of games and come out flat.
No, you're on the right path. I mean, I kind of wonder I feel like Marshawn would have been the guy to like sit the last couple of games for load management, but I wonder if
Mhm.
Monty was like, "Hey, you want to sit out? Like, do you really care?" And he was like, "Nah, I'll just keep playing." I
Mhm.
don't know. They clearly didn't have load management in the last couple of games. A huge concern,
Definitely
so
not.
that's okay. No one got hurt. So, um, I kind of wonder. Something just popped into my head with Beecher getting sent down. I kind of wonder because I like the idea of Beecher, Geeky, Frederick being your game one third line, and Lauko being on the right wing with Maroon and Boquist. Um, I kind of wonder if Beecher got sent down for Magna because they're comfortable with Lauko, Geeky, and Frederick to start as the third line.
Maybe.
Um, we like Bart Diver said, we could see Beecher back up tomorrow, but I wonder if that group, Lauko, Geeky, Frederick, gets first dibs to establish themselves as that third line because Lauko's had a rough year, but if he can like channel that psychopath energy in a reasonable way, he can be an impactful player. So I wonder if they're kind of banking on that. A couple responsible forwards, who can also provide some scoring upside, on his line as well. Could work, but I would like to see Beecher at least get some run on that third line if he is in the lineup in the playoffs because I like the speed and I think he would be hungry for that opportunity and potentially be an impact player. Um, On to the playoffs. We're starting with the Rangers and the Caps. The Rangers and the Caps. The Caps secured their spot last night. Um, they secured it with a desperation empty net attempt or pulling the goalie attempt by Philly when it was tied. And they just kind of got a free ticket to the playoffs
Free
because
spot in. Yeah.
Philly went all out. I get it. Their odds were very low. They had to win to even have a chance. They emptied the tank and they probably figured their odds got so low that they're like, let's just fucking do it. Like
Mhm.
we have to win. This is worth the risk. We saw it work with the Minnesota Wild about a month ago. Obviously a different time frame, but different part of the season. But doesn't work. They probably wouldn't have got in either way. Their odds were very slim. We got Rangers and Caps. We've seen good Rangers Cap series in the past. We've seen some controversy with the whole Wilson and Panarin thing a couple years ago. Um, these two teams, like, I don't know if they're rivals, but they play each other hard.
They
They're
do.
entertaining games more often than not. I'm excited for this series. Do I think the Capitals have much of a chance? Not really. But I don't know. I'm not as quick to dismiss them as some people because I think they're playing for a rookie head coach. They're playing for Ovi. They battled their dicks off to get here. They had a minus 37 goal differential and made the playoffs. That just
That's
doesn't make
crazy.
sense.
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about how many goals in what's the max at most you're getting in a game? Like typically like 9 goals a game.
Mhm.
In like a 5-4 or a 6-3. Occasionally you'll get like a weird like 9-2, 9-3.
Mhm.
37 goals is a fucking ton to be
Ton. Yeah.
down by.
It's
And
insane.
they still made the playoffs. The loser points will help them. I forget what their record is. But the Islanders, even more than the Bruins, benefited from the loser point. The Bruins had 15 overtime shootout losses. The Leafs had 10. The Islanders had 16 and the Caps had 11. So, yeah, that does help. We'll see if that changes. I think there's potential for the point system changing in the future. The season series was tied 2-2, so it's not like the Caps are just completely inferior here. They've also really galvanized this group. I think they're just gonna be annoying. Like
Yep.
the Rangers might win handily, but it'll be annoying. That's what this team should try and do.
Mhm.
They're clearly not the better team on paper. Just be annoying. And Charlie Lindgren, their goalie, dude,
So think
he's a
last year's Panthers
gamer.
team. Is what you're telling me.
He's a gamer. There's a winning formula here. Will it happen? No. Can it? Certainly.
Mhm.
I'm very excited for this series because I think at the very least there's going to be some shit after the whistle. It's going to be entertaining.
Mhm.
Um, we'll see how much Matt Rempe can make an
Oh
impact even if
God.
he
Yeah.
plays. That could be interesting. Rempe versus Wilson would be something. If he wants to keep up this reputation, he should fight Tom Wilson right away, as soon as possible.
Set the tone early. Yeah.
Yeah, in the end, I just see the Capitals taking one, but the Rangers, they got a lot to play for. This is a team wanting to get that elusive Stanley Cup. for the first time since '94. They've been close before. They've had heartbreak countless times. Um, they got to win the series, and they will. It's Rangers in 5.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I know I kind of just joked that like the MO is like, or it's similar to last year's Bruins and Panthers, but it really isn't. Like the Panthers were able to outmuscle and out tough the Bruins, and I just don't think the Capitals are going to be able to do that against New York, because New York's a tough team in their own way. Um, Obviously some people will say curse of the President's Trophy, as we found out that the Rangers ended up winning last
Yes.
night, but I don't think that's going to be the case just yet. Like, I think they're
Yeah.
obviously the far superior team. Give credit where credit's due. Washington, like you said, kind of some strange stats for them. Played their tails off to get in, but in the end, Rangers are just a far superior team, and I'm going with a gentleman's sweep as well, with the Rangers in 5.
Yeah, they got to get it done.
Yep.
Also, Artemi Panarin's got a hard case this year. If he's gonna be that guy, like they're gonna be hard to beat in any night. They're deep. Filipino could be back. He's had a rough year with injuries, and I think he had some personal stuff come up. If he's back in the lineup, that just strengthens them. Their defense is great. Roslovic and Wenberg, they didn't go all out at the deadline, but they made smart tactical moves that I think were just perfect fits for them. Um, and I love it. I love that team. I don't know if they're going to win the cup. I don't know if they're going to win the second round, but I like the Rangers group enough to win in 5. Islanders Hurricanes. Some people might have this series being a little close. I really don't. I don't think the Islanders are very good. Noah Dawson's hurt right now. That could linger. They're a little more exciting offensively. Full year Bo Horvat helps that. Brock Nelson's great. Matt Barzal's great. Anders Lee is a solid captain. Their defense is fine. Sorokin kind of came back down to earth. Um, I think some of his best stretches of play were pretty unsustainable at times. Same with Shesterkin. He's kind of in a similar boat, but has a much better team around him. And I think Shesterkin might be a little bit of a better goalie. I think they're very similar. Um, I think this Hurricanes team could be a problem. And I had them going to the Cup final this year. It looked bleak at times this year. There were rough stretches for the Hurricanes. They had goaltending injuries, underperforming. Freddie Anderson, I believe, had a blood clot. I can't believe he's even playing. Antti Ranta spent a lot of time in the AHL. Peter Kochetkov, who we saw make his rise to the NHL against the Bruins in the playoffs a couple years ago. They're an interesting group, and Jake Gensel was just the guy they needed. Seth Jarvis is great. I like their forward depth. I think Jordan Staal is a great 3C playoff type of guy. They obviously have Aho as well. They're deep. They're deep. And I think Gensel's such a perfect fit. And they know how to win games in the playoffs in multiple ways. And I think that's just a nightmare for the Islanders. I just don't know if the Islanders can keep up with them blow for blow. And I have the Canes in 5. I could see this being a sweep, but I couldn't get there. I think Noah Dobson's status is hugely worth monitoring. The season series was 2-2. So I can't shake Carolina really taking over potentially early and not giving the Islanders much of a chance here. Not ruling out an Islanders win, but I pretty much am. I think the Hurricanes should almost definitely win this series.
Okay. I just solely went off of what the season series happened, what happened in the season series, tied 2-2. I don't know, maybe it showed that these two teams are maybe a little more evenly matched. You don't seem to think so. So I will take your word for it in that sense, that you were the bigger hockey guy than compared to me. But I'm just going to go Hurricanes in 6. I feel like that's a solid number. Again, kind of falls into the same boat of the Rangers and Capitals. For me, not to say that the Capitals aren't a tough team, but like the Hurricanes in this matchup, I feel like are the tougher, more physical team than the Islanders. So I think that'll obviously that plays in the playoffs, as we know. So I think they very easily could just beat up on the Islanders all series long. Maybe New York, off of some skill set alone, gets steals a couple of games here and there.
Yeah.
But in the end, I'm with you. It's Carolina, just in one more game than how you have it.
Yeah, and I think the thing for that's made the Islanders successful is their fourth line, and like they still have that fourth line together, but I feel like the effectiveness kind of fell off this year. When you have a great fourth line, that's really crucial. Yeah, that could be really crucial on the right team in the playoffs. Um, Yeah, I don't know about the Islanders. They almost didn't even make the playoffs. Like if you think about all those loser points too, they easily
Mhm.
could have missed. I hate the matchup. I'm sorry, Islanders fans. I do. I really do. But later sheet. Thank God, for our sake, like I think we both prefer the Bruins play the Leafs. We also as a byproduct get the Battle of Florida again. And that's awesome.
Awesome. Yep.
So awesome. Extremely excited for another Battle of Florida. Panthers took the season series 2-1. They won 9-2 at one point. I forgot about that. I'm pumped for this series. I wanted to go 6 games. I went Panthers in 7. I absolutely think Tampa can beat them. Um, Especially, I mean, Kucherov is like he's preposterous. They're still Tampa. They lose guys every year, but they find guys like Asimont. They got Hagel a couple years ago. They find guys to plug holes. Nick Perbix on defense has been solid. Like they find guys. They turn guys into players. Darren Radish. They turn guys into players. They got Anthony Duclair. He has the mold. We've seen it like in the playoffs last year at times. Um, Actually, was he on the Panthers in the playoffs? Maybe not, but we've seen him in the playoffs at times. Look solid. But he at the very least has that like spoiler to him. Like he could be a spoiler. He'll sneak up on you, score a big goal. Verhaeghe can score big goals. Reinhardt has been awesome. They're very deep. They have Tarasenko, who's won a Stanley Cup. Uh, their defense has been revived. They traded Mackenzie Weegar, and it really hasn't hurt them that much. They've got Gustav Forsling, Brandon Montour, Aaron Ekblad. It's a really solid team, and Sergei Bobrovsky has had a quietly awesome year. You can't really say quietly when your team's that good, but I feel like he should have been talked about more because he's almost fully back, I'd say, to be an old Sergei Bobrovsky. Um, he can be a problem if he's hot. We saw them get to the Cup final last year. They have a better team this year. But I think Tampa's going to give him a war. This rivalry means a lot to both teams, to Florida, which has becoming more and more of a hockey hotbed thanks to these teams.
Mhm.
And this series is going to be a war. It's such a toss up. I think it absolutely goes 7, but I'm going to go with the Panthers.
Yeah, I think this is one of the ones that's going to come down to home ice advantage, and obviously the Panthers have it. So I think Game 7, their home barn. I'm with you. It's going to be war, but I'm going to stick with Florida as well.
Motivation is a bitch too.
Yeah,
They got
absolutely.
embarrassed in the clincher last year in the Cup final, lost 9-3. Motivation's a bitch.
Yep.
That series is going to be tremendous. Bruins and Leafs. It's happening
We
again,
know
folks.
how this goes.
And this is the most confident I have ever been in the Bruins against the Leafs. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It sounds weird when you lose your top 2 centers, hallmarks at times in these series, big time players. We know Bergeron, of course, more so, but Krejci showed up against the Leafs at times as well. Bruins, like I said earlier, outscored them 14-7. We're 30% on the power play against them. Went 4-0. In a weird way, that doesn't even matter to me because it's a new season, postseason. It's one of the biggest cliches. Um, I think their defense and goaltending are lunch meat in
As
Toronto.
they always are.
This year, it's different.
Okay.
They added a couple of depth defensemen to add some physicality and depth and some shot blocking, and that could work. They can block shots. They can hit. That's fine. And that could help them. They're also bad hockey players. Ilya Lyubushkin is a bad hockey player. Joel Edmondson is a bad hockey player, but he can block shots and he can hit. So can Lyubushkin. Mark Giordano is like 41.
Washed.
Morgan
Yeah.
Riley has been banged up and maybe a little bit of a down year for him, but I think he'll take what you can get from Morgan Riley. He helps that power play. He's a good passer. Timothy Liljegren has been hurt a little bit lately, just recently getting healthy. And TJ Brody is not good anymore. So kind of has been good for a little while. But this year, I don't know. Anytime I watch them, I'm not very impressed by TJ Brody. Not great for a guy in a contract year. It won't be a sweep, and this will be crazy to some people. I would not be surprised if the Bruins sweep them.
Did the season series. So maybe not the craziest
I
thing.
won't be. I will also won't be surprised if it goes 6. It won't go past 6. I'd be shocked if it went past 6. I'm going Bruins in 5. I found out, I was reminded today that Domi Yarncroke and McMahon have been battling some injuries lately. So we'll see if they're back. They could be back, according to, was it Elliot Friedman that said it? Maybe it was someone else. Top 9 forwards in that team. Bobby McMahon has really come along and earned himself a contract extension and been a secondary scoring piece for them. Look, Marner and Nylander are great players, and they will make an impact in this series. And so will former old friend Tyler Bertuzzi. But Matthews needs to dominate, like completely dominate, I think, for them to win this series.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done that this year. He scored 1 empty net goal. 1 empty net goal this year.
Pretty insane.
He's a beast, like legit beast. He needs to be otherworldly, I think. The Bruins it's a down year for the Bruins, but I think the Bruins just match up well. They're going to be ready. They don't lose to the Leafs. How can you pick against them? Jeremy Swayman said last year, and I might be goofy for still holding on to this. Jeremy Swayman said last year, this will not happen again. And they're not in the number 1 seed by a mile.
Different circumstances.
I think the overall message is like, we're not going out in the first round next year.
Yeah, we're not.
And Jeremy Swayman might not have much of a say with that because are they going to do the rotation? Is Omar going to play like 5? Swayman plays 2 if it goes 7. I don't know. Maybe they go with the rotation. That's where I'd lean. And this just is, it's all Bruins. Call me biased a little bit, but I really do feel this. Like this is. I would be pissed if I was a Leafs fan. And there is so much, if Leafs fans are watching this, to chirp me for if it goes the other way. And that's okay. But I can't sugarcoat it here because that would be inauthentic. But I will say it was his first run in the playoffs, but Tyler Bertuzzi put up 10 points last year for the Bruins in the playoffs.
Yep, big time playoff performer. So that is
see if he can do it again. I think he'll be an impact player. I don't know if he'll put up 10 points. But he is at the very least annoying. And the Bruins know that, so they might not let it derail them. But Bertuzzi also knows that too, like with what the Bruins can offer. He doesn't know the whole maroon factor, which could be nice. Could be really nice if he was really in their heads. But I don't know. A Marchand-led team
against Toronto
doesn't really change much from a Bergeron-led team. Obviously, very different players, very different impact. But the message is the same. I think they just know how to do it, and that's not changing without Bergeron and Krejci. And I think they can do it handily.
It is crazy that you and me, and I feel like a lot of other people too, because I feel like if this was a day earlier and we were sitting here talking about the Lightning as a potential round 1 matchup, I feel like it'd be a hell of a lot different of a tone. Yeah. And I don't know if I would have picked the Bruins in the first round matchup against the Lightning. I probably wouldn't have, to be honest. I wouldn't have either. But the fact that it's Toronto, and like you said, that like if it goes wrong, Toronto fans have every right to clown you. No, congratulations from finally getting up off the kids' table and joining all the adults over on the other side. Like you finally able to get over the hump. Congratulations, you're not clowning anybody. It's taking you this long. I'll believe it when I see it. Like I said, I'll have my grandfather tell me every year that Toronto, on paper they're so great, they have all this talent. Believe it when I see it that they can beat the Bruins. Hasn't happened yet. Not going to happen now. I'm with you, Bruins in 5. I had Bruins in 6 originally, but they'll take care of business at home. Win this thing in 5. They're not going to have to go play Toronto in Toronto again. After the first 2 games they do so, or obviously games 3 and 4. You know what I mean? Bruins in 5 all the way.
There we go. There we have it. Love it. So I'll put a note in here. You may have noticed earlier that we did do conference finals and stuff and finals for the NBA. Things aren't quite as finalized. Well,
kudos to you. I had one Western Conference game in this, so you going through all the potential matchups here is
made
my due diligence.
Made my head spin a little bit.
Absolutely.
It's a little more clear cut with the playing games. There are some scenarios here that could, I think making a fully clear or trying to, or like a fully clear, full on playoff prediction would be kind of goofy. We can just do it next week. Because there's potentially a lot that needs to be sorted out. It could be pretty vanilla, depending on who wins against who and who affects whichever matchups need to be affected. Let's start in the wild card 2 matchup. We'll see if it is LA, Nashville, and I could be wrong on some of these scenarios. I went through, I looked, I might have a couple small details wrong, but I think I have everything down pat here. Dallas is looking at LA, Nashville, or Vegas in the first round, depending on what happens. Vegas currently is outside of that wild card picture, so they have a little bit of stability, but it's not over yet. I will pull it up, just reference some things here. Let's see. So we got Vegas third in the Pacific. The Kings have 97 points. The Golden Knights have 98. They each have a game left. The Kings could jump the Golden Knights. The Predators are in the mix too at 99 points from the Central. We'll see how all that lines up with the wild card itself. But if the Predators are done, I should have said. I was gonna say the Predators won their next game, but okay, yeah, all right. I wanted to make sure I got this. If the Golden Knights get 1 point and they're tied with the Predators, it comes down to tiebreakers. And then if LA wins in that scenario, they're 99 points. That can conflict things. Or if
Way
one
too
team
much
gets
going
2
on
points
already.
and all these different scenarios. Either way,
So let's just
The
play the what
Stars-
if game.
yeah, the what if game. The Stars will play one of the Kings, the Predators, or the Golden Knights.
Thank you.
The Stars are 4-0 against the Kings in the season series. They are 2-2 against the Nashville Predators in the season series, and they're 3-0 against, or the Golden Knights are 3-0 against them in the season series. We could pick like who we think it's gonna be, but like who cares?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Just run
it
through
is what
each
it is.
again.
Let's just
Each
we'll
scenario.
talk about
What
each
if?
matchup a little
Yeah.
bit. It's I think that's the best way to do it.
Mhm.
For me, this Kings group lacks an edge, an oomph to it. I think they're good, but I think they underachieved a little bit. They went through one really rough stretch of the season as well. I can't comfortably put them over the Stars, so I won't.
Same.
Could it happen? Yes. Will it happen? I don't think so. I think the Stars are also just very loaded. I think Chris Tanev was an awesome pickup as well. The Preds are a tough draw for them with how they rallied this year. That's a potentially exciting number 1 seed upset opportunity. I would hate to play the Preds if I were the Stars. The Golden Knights, on the other hand, are a very real threat to upset the Stars, in my opinion, especially if Mark Stone's back. Who knows how he'll even look coming off a lacerated spleen? I can't even believe he's not ruled out
Wild
for
to
the
see he's
season
coming back.
entirely.
Yeah.
Like, it is a little suspicious that it lines up, but they whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get into the minutia. They do what they do. They exploited a loophole that's legal. Maybe it won't be in the future. I think the Golden Knights could repeat. It will depend on their goaltending. I don't know if Aiden Hill's gonna do quite what he did last year because it was pretty awesome. I think that's hard to replicate. But if they get the goaltending and their group shows up how it can, they have a very real shot to beat the Dallas Stars, in my opinion. I'm going Stars in 5 against LA. I bet LA just, gets 1. The Stars aren't perfect. Stars in 6 versus Nashville. I think Nashville's going to be a huge pain in the ass for them. Just even how good the Stars are. I'm going Golden Knights in 7 over Dallas. That's a series, not like Tampa, Florida level, but that series could be a war.
It'll be fun.
I think.
Yeah.
I think that one could be really high flying, physical. A guy like Chris Tanev, like I said, could thrive in a series like that, just blocking shots, throwing hits, playing strong defense. That's the type of series you get a guy like Chris Tanev for, and I'm very excited for the possibility of it.
Okay.
What say you, sir?
I'm not going to go too in depth because I, honest to God, don't know a whole lot about the Western Conference setup when it comes
That's
to these
okay.
playoff matchups. I have
That's
not
what I'm here
followed a
for.
lot of Western Conference hockey this year, so I will just run through just I was gonna say standings. Just the games. Stars in 4 against LA for pretty much all the same reasons that you said. Stars in 6 against Nashville. I agree with you that could be, a pretty scrappy series because we've seen what the Predators have done this season. The turnaround that they had and the kind of the run that they went on. And then the Golden Knights, I'm with you. Like, they are one of the classes of the league. Could give Dallas some fits. I think they will. And that's the only series I have that the Stars not winning. Golden Knights in 6 in that one.
Yeah, I don't like that matchup for the Stars, but
It's a tough one.
absolutely could see it going either way. The one we do have certainty on, Ryan,
The
are the
only
Avs
one,
and
yeah.
the Jets. I like the outlook of this series as well. The Jets swept the season series 3-0, which is a little surprising, but not entirely. Jets are a pretty good team. They won 7-0 at one point. That's absolutely bizarre for any team to do that against the Avalanche. 6-2 and 4-2. So maybe this series doesn't last as long as we think it's going to be. But I think when it comes down at the end, it's going to come down to goaltending. Connor Hellebuyck is far better than Georgiev.
Yep.
They had to lean on Georgiev a ton. I wonder if he's going to have the stamina. I think he's going to play every game. Maybe they give Anunin a game. He's been solid as the backup. I think, since they signed him to an extension, they like that long-term upside of him being the backup next year. Maybe he gets a shot just to hopefully preserve Georgiev in the event you go to the second round. Maybe if you trust Anunin enough. But I don't know, man. Like, I've had money on the Jets for a while because, in the event they really pulled it together, and they have for much of the season. They're very deep defensively. Connor Hellebuyck right now is the best goalie in the world. They add Sean Monahan. They add Tyler Toffoli. That's a very legit team. And I think their depth matches up well against Colorado, and their goaltending is much better. It'll just be up to the Jets, of course, to stifle the one-man wrecking crew that is Nathan MacKinnon, who is absolutely sensational. Mikko Rantanen, Ross Colton has won a cup. They got some physical guys as well. The defense is solid. They added Sean Walker. Obviously, have Cale Makar. There'll be a problem for Winnipeg, but I like Winnipeg. The sum of its part, it's a little bit better than Colorado. This could be an awesome series. I think it will be. I'm going Jets in 7 against Colorado Avalanche.
I had the Avs originally in either 6 or 7. I can't remember what it was for all the talent that you just listed off. But then, like you kind of had, or like you said, NHL Stanley Cup playoffs tend to come down to the hot goaltender or the better goaltender. And you remember that the Jets, like you said, have one Connor Hellebuyck, and I cannot pick against him in a must-win game, win or go home type of situation. This will be a fun series too. I feel like very evenly matched teams. But it's going to come down, like you said, to the goaltending. I'm going to ride Hellebuyck as well, and go with Jets in 7, like you did.
Excellent. Also, I love the whiteout Winnipeg. I'm so excited. Oh, it's my favorite thing. I love it. Similar vein, but talking about the Canucks here, we have 3 potential opponents
Whole lot
for the
of
Vancouver
scenarios.
Canucks. It's the Kings, the Predators, and the Golden Knights again. The Kings matched up well against the Canucks, which surprised me a little bit. They won the season series 3-1. Won a couple games rather handily. Canucks beat that was the Predators 3-0 in the season series, and they tied the Golden Knights in the season series. I don't love LA's chances against Vancouver much for the same reasons as Stars. I don't know, maybe it changes, but I don't know. Like the Kings group, they have a lot of great players. Don't get me wrong, it just doesn't impress. They as a whole, don't impress me all that much. But it is the playoffs. They have won a cup as a very low seed before, back in 2012. I don't think they're going to do it this year, though. Sorry, Kings fans. The Predators, again, you just can't count them out. You can't. But I just don't know if they're beating either team. I think they could. I just can't actually pick them to win the series, much like the last one. I'm leaning towards Vegas a little more against Vancouver. Do I think Vancouver is easier to beat than Dallas for Vegas? Yes. I don't know. I felt a little more comfortable picking the Golden Knights over the Stars, though, than I do against the Canucks for some weird reason. I think Quinn Hughes could be a monster. I think that's part of it. But Elias Lindholm has sucked since Vancouver has gotten him. If he came in and was the perfect guy they needed, I'd be like, okay, Vancouver's more real than I think they are. I don't know. I think JT Miller is going to have to. That's a guy that needs to be an X factor. They don't have a ton of edge in that DNA, and JT Miller is going to need to provide that. Be one of the guys. I like Canucks in 6 versus LA. I don't know. That just feels like a better matchup for LA than Dallas. So I'm gonna give them a couple games just for fun, get a little wild with it, but I could see that being over a little sooner. Canucks in 7 versus Nashville. I think that one goes the distance. That would be a heartbreaker for Nashville with how hard they battled this year. But I'm going with the Canucks in 7, and then I have the Golden Knights in 6, much like the Dallas series over Vancouver. I just like that Golden Knights upset. It's a great team. They use the long-term IR. If Mark Stone's healthy or not, I still think it's an awesome team. Tomas Hertl, like this is a guy that's going to be playing for something too. It's been a rough few years in San Jose, and it was rough for him to get traded. It was rough for that team to see him go. I think he could explode in the playoffs. I think Noah Hannafin could be a significant
Huge
difference maker.
Yep.
And we know what that nucleus is. We know they're capable of it. Will the goaltending hold up? Sure. I think the fans fuel that team so much too. That place is awesome. I think that's a huge advantage, when they're at home. And I like them to beat either team. Will they? I'd say maybe, but I like it. I can't shake it. I'm picking them to beat either one seed they might face.
No insights for me. I'm going Canucks in 5. If it ends up being LA, if it ends up being Nashville, Canucks in 6. And if it is the Golden Knights, people starting to maybe feel a little bit of a pattern here. I'm staying high with the Golden Knights. Them in 5 against Vancouver.
In 5, that would be something, Ryan. That would be a great prediction if that one comes through wish. Ooh, kind of rhyme. Then there's the possibility with Vegas and LA that one of them plays Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers. We'll see what happens. Edmonton plays tonight. That doesn't really affect any matchups, but it's just like it does affect a team that's, in limbo, seeing who they're going to face. So all these games don't really mean a lot tonight. We'll see how they do against Arizona. Vegas and LA have not matched up great against the Oilers. Vegas lost the season series 2-1 to the Oilers, and the Kings lost the season series 3-1. Vegas Edmonton would be a treat. And it'd be an ultimate test. Like if McDavid's really going to win one day, for him to beat a team like Vegas and go on to win it, or at least just beat them in general, would be like a different type of, accomplishment for him and for the team. The thing for Edmonton is they could be too much. Like Vegas's defense is phenomenal. I think it's the best defensive core in the league. They're tall. They're all like over 6'1". They're big, and almost all of them will block shots and hit. Like it's a phenomenal mix they have. And they have a guy in Alec Martinez who's won 3 cups. That helps. If the Oilers find a weakness, I could see them just running wild. That might sound crazy with how much I backed up the Golden Knights, but like this is a team that needs to, and I think will be playing pissed off. Like, fuck this shit. We need to win one. Like, McDavid's been here for a while now. Like, we need to just stomp teams. And, Vegas is great, and they're trying to defend their title, but they are beatable. Like, if they weren't beatable, they'd probably be in the number 1 seed in that division. They're in the 3rd seed right now in the Pacific. So, Edmonton just needs to have the right formula. I trust Chris Knobloch, who was McDavid's old junior coach who took over when they fired Jay Woodcroft. I trust them to have a formula for anybody and just have that motivation. Like McDavid needs one, and he's going to be the guy that needs to make it happen. He needs to be the Conn Smythe winner. He needs to be at the forefront, and he needs to be the guy in the locker room. And I think he's capable of it. And I hope if the Bruins are to be there, I hope he's not there. But meaning the cup final. Not, but we shall see. That could be an awesome series, but if Vegas's goaltending can't hold up against the Oilers' onslaught, offensively plus Bouchard from the back end, it could be a real problem. Real problem. But Vegas is very good. I kind of think the Oilers will just kill the Kings.
I do too.
Yep. Yeah. I couldn't go for a sweep though. I don't know. I have to be really compelled to pick sweeps in the first round of the NHL.
I feel like just hockey in general. Like I feel like it's like the hardest sport to sweep in. Like maybe people could argue baseball because of just how long the games are and everything. Different things could happen, but like hockey, I mean, we've talked about it numerous times. The playoffs in hockey are just such a different beast that anything can obviously happen.
They sure are. I'm going Oilers in 7 over Vegas. I love Vegas, and I picked them against 2 good teams, but I really have a hard time envisioning a scenario where Connor McDavid and the Oilers are a first-round exit this year. shitty start to the season. They battle back once they get a new coach. Zach Hyman scores 50 plus. That's an awesome, awesome team. I'd be shocked if they lose, even if it's Vegas, who I'm very high on. I think they'll find a way to win. It won't be easy, but they'll find a way to win. And I'll give the gentleman sweep. I think LA can pull out one. That's it. I don't think LA is really slowing down that offense too much. And of course, Edmonton's offense is great, but their defense is gonna have to show up. Like they're not gonna, despite their capabilities, they're not gonna win with their offense every night. So we'll see how that defense can hold up in Edmonton. I think they're capable of it. I think Matthias Ekholm needs to be a difference maker. That big trade they made last year, and I think he could be. Where are you at, Ryan?
I'm with you. I don't think the Kings stand a chance. I'm going to go 5 as well. I was the same reasons that you did. Very tempted to pick 4, but I just can't pick sweeps in hockey. Like I said, I think it's tough to sweep in the NHL playoffs. Still going to ride high with the Golden Knights. Again, Edmonton, I've said it before. I sound like I'm beating a dead horse here, but they are the Angels of hockey, in my opinion. Best player in the world that just can never break through. Golden Knights, it'll be a tough series. I think they maybe edge them out just ever so slightly in 7. But like you said, if it's not the Bruins, like I'm rooting for McDavid. I was rooting for it the year it was, Washington with Ovechkin to finally get him a cup. You'd like to see McDavid finally get one. Obviously, the guy's won every other award known to man, it seems like. So to have him cap that off would be cool to see. But it's the case of like Edmonton, you could argue is just cursed. They always seem to have these type of years where you're talking about shoulda, woulda, coulda. This very well could, be that same type of thing. But I don't know. Like I know I joked about my grandfather talking about like at some point Toronto has to break through. Like you're kind of saying the same thing with Edmonton. At some point they have to break through here. And again, if it's not the Bruins, maybe I hope it's them this year because again, I'd like to see McDavid finally get one.
Yes, would be very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
Yep.
That's gonna wrap it up for hockey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got nothing
Patriots.
else. So.
Yeah, nothing really. I really have to add.
Yeah.
Are the Patriots throwing a smoke screen right now, Ryan, with all this Michael Penix stuff?
I don't know what they're doing. The Patriots are starting to aggravate the crap out of me, for being completely honest, when it comes to this stuff. Like, just
go on.
I don't know. Just I get to the degree that you have to kind of throw all these different things at people, to not tip your hand when you have a pick like you do in the 3rd overall pick. But like, I don't know. I feel like there's something new every week. I know they have to do their due diligence on these guys, in case they do want to trade their pick or whatever, or maybe move off of it or move, do something else. So I don't have a problem with them bringing all these guys in, but just, I don't know. Like I'm just so tired of the constant changing of maybe plans or the people or the names that you hear. Maybe it's just me just complaining to complain here, but like it's getting tiring. And I know it's at that point in the year, with the draft right around the corner, you're going to hear different things. I don't know. I just hope they have some sort of plan that we're obviously not, privy to, and they're not going to disappoint us on draft night, because the way things are going right now, I am starting to have like a bad feeling they're going to completely botch this draft up, whether that's moving off the 3rd overall pick, taking a player, as we've talked about, in JJ McCarthy, that they shouldn't be at 3 overall. I don't know what to expect with them anymore, to be honest.
I kind of wonder if they're doing this in a way, maybe to throw a smoke screen. Like, of course, like you have to think about that a little bit. Like, hey, like are the Patriots going to take Penix now? Like, do we need to trade up late in the 1st round if we're the Raiders or the Broncos to secure that we get him? Unless one of those teams were to take him at 12 or 13. There's some that believe one of them will go in that top 15, maybe both. That would be dumb. At least Penix wouldn't be. I think Penix has more upside as an NFL quarterback, but maybe something adjacent to like an elevator pitch is what this is.
Okay.
Like you want to be in consideration. Like, we have things we like about you. Like, let's talk. What do you think? How do you think this could work? What are some things you value? Get to know the kid a little more, and maybe they get sold and they're like, I don't know if we can pass up on this kid, or like, we want to know what other teams might think about him. I don't know what goes on in these, but like, this is a little bit of a smokescreen. They could really not have a ton of interest at all. They only sent one guy to his pro day. Carmen or Cameron, I might have spelled it wrong. I think it's Cameron Williams, director of college scouting, to his pro day. I don't know who was at the dinner last night, and there was a top 30 visit. Maybe it was 2 nights ago, but they had a top 30 visit the next day. Ryan, I will put this out there, not in hopes that it happens, but because it is a possibility. there are people that think Michael Penix is going to go higher than some expect. The Raiders are a team that can trade up. If the Patriots did trade down to 13, I wonder if they're doing this because they might like Michael Penix enough to take him there. Do I think it'll happen? I think there's like a 1% chance. I think they are doing this because they might trade up into the late first round to get him from 34 if they like him enough and they want to take a quarterback or Marvin Harrison Jr. and throw everybody off at 3 or just trade down from 3 and then trade up late in the first round to get Michael Penix Jr. Maybe they trade down to 6 or something and get Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze. There are possibilities now with this. And this could all mean nothing. They could just go Drake May, and that's simple. They draft a receiver or a tackle in the second round or trade the second round pick for a receiver. Those are popular things.
Okay.
I don't know. This screams second round territory if they like him, or that late round trade up or late first round trade up or trade into. But it's interesting that they're doing it at this time. But I do think part of it is they're trying to throw some people off and make some teams that might want to move up for Penix or hope he's available at their pick.
Make some teams jumpy a little bit.
Make some teams jumpy. Like even so, the Raiders might be like, oh shit, like if the Patriots are thinking about him, who else is? Maybe do we trade up to just 33 with the Panthers to jump the Patriots? And if we really want him, like a team like the Broncos or the Raiders. I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting though. Like no doubt.
Yeah,
the last
definitely
we'll hear from Elliot Wolf will be for the last time before the draft will be tomorrow at 10 a.m. with the pre-draft press conference. That's about it for draft stuff. Just wanted to touch on that, but we did have some interesting Patriots news drop this morning, Ryan.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Don Van Natta Jr., Seth Wickersham. Everybody loves Seth Wickersham. And Jeremy Fowler paint Robert Kraft in a bad light, amongst other things, in an article on ESPN today. Let's go down the talking points here, Ryan, shall we?
Sure.
Let's start with the Aaron Hernandez portion. Andrew Callahan tweeted this out, according to ESPN, citing a source who spoke to someone close to Robert Kraft. And oh wait, I put the wrong link here. I gotta find the Hernandez one. Did I mix up the links here? What's the Aaron Hernandez one? Can you find that? If you don't mind.
Was it the one that mentioned the comments were consistent with what Kraft was telling confidants for months after an unprecedented run after Spygate, the Aaron Hernandez and backing his coach and moving on from Brady and disagree. Basically the rundown of everything that they want to blame Bill Belichick for. That was the thing I kind of got to you about, that like my whole takeaway from the whole Aaron Hernandez stuff is I don't understand why Bill Belichick is the guy that's with this, the documentary that recently came out, produced by Kraft, of course. Why all of a sudden, and maybe this was the case back in the day as well, I just can't remember, that Bill Belichick is the one to blame for Aaron Hernandez being a murderer. Like, I found it stupid. We didn't really talk about it because you obviously were not watching the documentary at the time that I was, so I didn't want to spoil anything for you. But the whole, and I don't know if you've seen it since or not, but the whole episode basically painting Bill Belichick in the picture of the guy that, wouldn't trade Aaron Hernandez, even though Aaron Hernandez came to him saying, his life's in danger. And then this comment about, again, trying to throw Bill under the bus for Aaron Hernandez being a psychopath. Like I texted you earlier today. Last time I checked, Bill Belichick wasn't the one that gave Aaron Hernandez the massive contract extension and basically treated the guy like he was a surrogate son. So if you would, think you were that close with Aaron Hernandez, maybe, Robert Kraft should be able to throw in a little bit more of a bone here when it comes to maybe not seeing the signs on Aaron Hernandez. So like that whole thing just aggravates the living crap out of me, that it only seems to be Bill Belichick's fault. When it comes to Hernandez.
It kind of does seem like some people say that. And I do wonder, like, Belichick has that GM capability, so I wonder how much of a hand he had in this particular
some degree, yep. I understand, yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the Aaron Hernandez thing is pretty wild.
It just it's something that I shouldn't get so aggravated about, but it just pisses me off whenever it comes up because it's such a stupid thing to pin on one person. Like, and like the thing too, like because they go about, again, I don't know if you saw it, they go about it in the documentary when Aaron Hernandez came to Bill Belichick. Like Bill basically asked him, like, we can give you extra protection, like the NFL has their own plan, like protect or whatever it was, security people that we can provide for you. And Aaron Hernandez was like, nope, I'm good. It's like, okay, so then what do you want him to do if he's going to decline the extra protection? Like, what's Bill supposed to do then? Go, okay, I'll trade you, even though, you were the one that doesn't think you need to protect. Like, I don't get it. I think it's dumb. I think this whole, we're going to obviously get into it with more of the comments in a second here, but like, Robert Kraft to me has taken a huge hit over these last few months, last couple of years, because I think this is just it's getting ridiculous. Just the absolute dragging of Bill. Some of it's warranted. I get like some of this stuff you could argue, you can make a case for, but man, Robert Kraft, some of this stuff with Kraft going behind his back and the stuff that I'm sure you get into in a second here, with the Atlanta hiring and coaching decision, like scummy behind the scenes stuff for Robert Kraft that just does not sit right with me, and I'm starting to lose a little bit
Yeah,
of goodwill on him.
me too. And let's just start running it down here. But in a conversation with Blaine, Kraft delivered a stark assessment of Belichick's character, according to a source who spoke to two people, close Kraft friend and a longtime Belichick confidant. The source quoted Belichick. The Belichick source is saying Robert called Arthur to warn him not to trust Bill. The account was backed up, the source said, by the Kraft close friend. Multiple sources said that Kraft spoke with some candor to blank about Belichick, though sources declined to elaborate. One source close to Belichick said Kraft was a big part of why the Falcons passed on him. The comments were consistent with what Kraft had been telling confidants for months. After an unprecedented run, Spygate, and Aaron Hernandez, after backing his coach, moving on from Tom Brady, like you said, after disagreements public, cash, the Krafts were willing to spend in private, leaking against each other directly or through associates. The owner lost trust in Belichick, which was a key reason for their deteriorating working relationship and the end of the Patriot way. A second close source to Kraft said Kraft found Bill extremely difficult and obstinate and stubborn, and kind of stubborn in the end, not worthy of his trust, also very, very arrogant. A spokesman for Kraft strongly denied that Kraft said anything disparaging about Belichick during the owner's two phone conversations in January. Robert steadfastly denies blah, blah, blah. Robert advocated for Bill to get the job. Don't believe that. I really don't. I'm kind of on the side of Kraft kind of hating Bill. I haven't even seen the documentary, but everything I've heard just disgusting me to the point where like I can't even watch it. I can't even
It's a smear
justify
job
spending
on
money
Bill.
to watch it. It's just a
90% of it. Like
I don't want to waste my time. Like that's just dumb, and I know it would piss me off. Who's James? It would not surprise me to learn that owners sometimes lament to those close to them when their teams are struggling, but Robert Kraft never challenged Bill's character or trust when talking with Arthur Blake. Trust is important to Robert. He wouldn't have employed Coach Belichick for the past 24 years if you ever questioned his trust. This is a different from a Falcons spokesman saying this, kind of defending Kraft. Yeah, what is this? A Falcons spokesman declined to comment on whether Kraft criticized Belichick to Blank during the interview process, but pointed to Blank's repeated comments to reporters during Super Bowl week that Kraft had endorsed Belichick. So, little source war here, going back and forth. Pretty nuts. Believe who you want to believe. Pretty nuts. Like it may just be maybe connecting the dots and not knowing all the facts with the whole portrayal of Bill in the documentary that Kraft seems to think he didn't have a huge say in, apparently. He did.
Exactly. When
sure
it pops
did.
up Kraft Productions at the end of it, or whatever the hell his production company's called.
I don't know. Kraft isn't the best.
He's a horrible liar.
Yeah, he's not a good liar. And I can't help but shake that this is a lie.
Absolutely.
Belichick has told confidants he would be interested in coaching the Cowboys, Eagles, or the Giants. He was blindsided by the hiring of Raheem Morris. He's not among the top 3 choices for any top decision maker job
that I
for the Falcons.
Can't believe that. That's like
insane.
That's like
also
levels of stupid for the Falcons.
That also lends credence to the Kraft thing.
Yeah,
why
absolutely.
would he not be a top 3 guy for them? I get it. Other teams also, I bet, think Belichick's a little stubborn. Does he fit their culture? Do they want a younger guy or a guy that's up and coming, like Raheem Morris might be?
I don't get to.
Hold on, one more thing.
Go ahead.
Believes he will get a head coaching interview next year. Don't know why he wouldn't believe that. He should get one. And plans to sign a media deal soon with Omaha Production. He was on Pat McAfee's show today. I'll be doing some draft coverage with them, which I'm very excited on. He's co-hosting the Pat McAfee show draft special with Pat McAfee and AJ Hawk. He's never had coffee, he said, which is kind of weird. I guess the guy's just built different. Me and him, I don't really drink coffee. I'm just naturally a beast. I guess Belichick's the same, very similar.
Yes, so.
I can't wait to hear his insight into draft rooms. He's still scouting, he said, and he flexed the bling behind him. He had that in the backdrop. That was definitely intentional.
Absolutely.
Belichick is he's he's mum on a lot of things, but he has flexed before, and he will continue to,
Oh, I
which I
think he
love
has to
because
now
he's
more than ever. Like the
yeah
guy's character is getting dragged through the mud, or they're trying to at
yeah,
least. So any
and he
opportunity
just
like this, I
has
think
them.
is smart. Yeah,
He just has them. Why not?
that
Like
too.
you should if you're that accomplished, you should. I don't care who you are as a person, you should flex a little bit.
The point I was trying, or the thing I was going to bring up before, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
like
you're
this,
good.
I'm sure. I mean, he's probably doing his due diligence, but I'm sure Blank at some point obviously put a call into Kraft, being like, just putting out the question of being like, hey, what's it like working with Bill? Like, what kind of pointers can you give me? I don't think Robert Kraft, and I'm like, to me, this is how it strikes me. Like, I feel like he went in a little too much or a little too more than he needed to about Bill being an ass. Like, we know from an outside perspective and have seen it for as long as we have that Bill's kind of an ass to work with, I'd have to assume, and work for.
Yeah.
Like, you can see that. So I don't know why. And that's probably what led into, like you said, nobody in the coaching staff or the front office or whatever having Bill as a finalist or a top three. Like, I don't know. That just doesn't sit well with me either. Like, Robert had to go out of his way to just continue to hammer home that, yeah, Bill's a dick to work with. So, like, don't even bother. Like, I don't, again, the amount of shine that has worn off of Robert Kraft over these last couple of years and just these last couple of months with how things have kind of gone down in the public persona for him, just it's not a great situation that's sitting well with me right now. And again, I'm not gonna make it seem like I've done a complete 180 and now I'm a Bill Belichick defender here, because I always feel like I was one of the people that wanted him out when the season ended. But like some of the stuff that he's catching flack for in the situations that he's been put into is a little ridiculous here.
It absolutely is. It sucks. It really
Mhm.
does. And things really have the outlook on things in the past has really changed over the years more and more.
Yeah.
Another thing, Belichick was not seeking total control of personnel decisions in Atlanta, which I get. You're
Mhm.
Bill Belichick, but like you don't want to be like, all right, give me the keys to the castle
Yeah,
for
exactly.
everything. But it is something worth noting because I think he still is capable. You don't have to love every decision he's made as a GM, but I do think he is capable and he's a very smart guy. Um, yeah, I just want to see if Mike Cad had anything else here. He had like a little rundown as well for WEI. That's about it. Like it sucks to see this, and I really hope
So unnecessary too.
shit like
Like,
this just doesn't keep coming out. Like we're past this. Belichick's gone now. Like
yep.
people are always gonna talk about him, especially say what you want about Felger and Mass. They'll always talk about you like this. When they
Mhm.
have downtime, they'll find ways to talk about you like this. When it has really not a lot of relevancy at times.
That is
But
something that. Go
it's
ahead.
like we're potentially in a much more exciting era in terms of the quarterback. You hold Mac Jones with the guy. He's not the guy. You're in a position you haven't been in years to draft a
Mhm.
franchise guy. Can we focus in the future on Gerard Mayo
That was
and
going to
what
be
he
my
is
point.
capable
Yep.
of? You can criticize him, not saying you can't. Let's take a measured approach to this next step, this next era, and let's just you're gonna have a quarterback most likely, unless they're just gonna smokescreen and take Marvin Harrison Jr. That's gonna be exciting. How
Mhm.
they gonna pan out? I don't know, man. But can we just can we leave this shit in the
Move
past
on.
a little bit?
Robert, Jonathan, move on.
And it
Like,
is in Kraft's control,
absolutely. He can
but I don't
shut
know.
down any
It
talk of Bill
sucks.
Belichick moving forward, and he just does
Can
not
we
want to for some
stop?
reason. Like,
It's not gonna stop, but can we change things a little bit here? Like
mhm,
Bill's gone. It's time to move on.
mhm. And
He's
I've seen.
always gonna be talked about, but to see if shit like this keeps coming out during Mayo's first season, all the
It's gonna be
time.
such a distraction, and it's gonna put
Oh
him in
my
such a bad
god!
spot.
Even in the off season, leading into
Yep.
training camp, it'll suck. Can we just
Mhm.
can we try and have a normal one, Robert Kraft?
Yeah.
Please, dude.
And I've seen some
I think it
people.
should be easy to, but you don't know, is it?
It absolutely should be easy to. The thing I've seen some people argue, because a lot of people have been, like you said, talking about that he's not a finalist on, a top three finalist, and I've seen some people kind of say, well, maybe Robert, um, botched stuff for Bill Belichick. So God forbid Bill went to Atlanta, started winning, not to the level that Brady won, obviously, but started winning, looked, a little better, and the Patriots continued to lose. And people had argued that, Robert Kraft doesn't want to see that happen again. Dude, that's the chance you take. Like owners, stuff blows up in your face all the time in professional sports. If you're an owner of
And
any
you won
team,
6 championships. Who
and exactly,
cares? Who
yeah,
cares? Who
you can't live like
cares?
you just said, and it goes into that as well. You can't be living in the past for the rest of your life. And it seems like Robert Kraft just does not want to turn the page, even though he has the very easy opportunity to do so. It seems like you said, with all this new promising stuff, and obviously the Patriots have been putting out stuff like looking like they want to obviously change the culture of things, and, be more open about stuff. It would appear, which is good. But again, Robert Kraft wants to just continue to. It seems like drag, his former coach through the mud, continue to just put him down as much as he possibly can. Um, and it sucks to see that because I think it's an absolute joke, and I think it's childish at this point. The part of Robert Kraft, which is kind of gross in all honesty. Like, just
Yeah,
move on,
stinks.
dude. It's over. Like,
Yeah, let's move on. Let's start the new era. Hopefully the
mhm.
Drake May era. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, then that's gonna wrap it up, Ryan. Pretty big show. I'll have a big one next week. Obviously, will depend on what else we have outside of the mock draft. That's gonna be the
Mhm.
big shebang next week.
Yep.
But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Spotify listeners, I should have said this at the start of the show too. We should be good now. Spotify is very weird about the audio file. They weren't on our old platform. They are here. I think I'm gonna have to upload MP3s now or change our audio files to MP3s in order to work on Spotify. Why do you do this, Spotify? Why? What's the point?
Nothing can be easy.
Why is it different on a different platform? I don't get it. Maybe it's a platform. Maybe it's out of Spotify's control. Maybe it's a Podbean thing. I don't know. Freaking Podbean. Any missing episodes? I think there's one missing on Apple Podcasts. There are like 3 or 4 missing from the past few weeks on Spotify. I think I have to replace the files with MP3s for the Spotify sake, at least. But I will, for anyone trying to catch up, you can do so on Twitch and YouTube. But I will try and get every episode up where it needs to be as best I can in the coming days. Maybe I'll do it all tomorrow. I don't know what my day looks like tomorrow. I have some things I gotta figure out. But either way, we should be good on Spotify. Spotify listeners rejoice. I'm a Spotify listener to podcasts and stuff as well, so I get it if you do. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at Mike_Cratty, at Brian_Salvaggio, and the show at Salvaggio and Cratty Pod. You can follow us on TikTok. I don't know if we got shadow banned because we're getting thousands of views on the videos around the trade deadline, and the one I posted last night got 23. I don't even know how that makes sense.
Jesus. It doesn't make any
23.
sense. Yeah.
23 doesn't even make sense.
It's the 5G.
The 5G, the algorithm,
Everything.
like
Yeah.
the solar eclipse. I don't know the blimps. I don't know. No, I'm just goofing around. That was an inside joke. If friend of the program, Mike McClellan, is listening, the blips. Yeah, follow us on TikTok. Follow Full Press Coverage on Twitch and YouTube. Go ahead and do that. We'll see you next week. Big one, long episode here. Hope you enjoyed. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice people, all the good stuff. And we see you next week for the mock draft episode and more of Salvaggio and Cratty, episode 190. See you then. Peace out.